Tell us a little bit about your qualifications around what you've done with alcohol, because you're a heroin addict that drank.
Yeah.
You weren't a drinker that did heroin.
No, no.
Wait,
I
what's
mean,
the difference?
Big difference.
Hey, wait, you're a heroin addict that drank
Hmm.
versus an alcoholic who did heroin.
I
Yeah.
think I was all of it.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, I have no problem saying I'm an alcoholic because I definitely am an alcoholic as well. But no, I think what he means is like alcohol was like the fallback.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, that was the baseline.
Yeah.
So if I couldn't find anything else, then it's like, all right, I guess I'll drink.
I also don't think you would have stole all your dad's shit if you were drinking.
No, probably not, or at least a lot less of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd say, background stuff with it. So aside from being in recovery myself, I oversaw a team of people in a medical detox program for 7 years, in a residential inpatient program. So I probably learned far more about the effects of alcoholism from that
Hmm.
than anything else. Just being on the front lines,
Yeah,
seeing
it's
it.
I equate
It's
my favorite spot in treatment is not when they are leaving and they're all better and stuff. I love the detox room. That first 12 hours when they first come in and they're
Yeah.
just like ripe and raw.
Oh yeah.
They will tell you everything. Any question you ask them, you will get the full details on everything that's going on.
Well,
Right?
and then it's those are the most wild. Like, well, aside from maybe meth, like the client coming in that's been abusing meth for a long period of time, they can go pretty sideways. But like, I mean, that's like one of the biggest things that I echoed to so many people is like the clients that come in the roughest shape are the majority of the time the alcoholics.
Yeah.
We're just physically, mentally, emotionally, just absolutely raw and on death's door. Like you see a client going through, end stage liver failure
Yeah.
and, full yellow skin and needing to have liters of fluid drained from their abdominal cavity once, twice a week. I saw that happen with a client who was 28 years old.
Yeah.
28 years old on that point where he was basically trying to piece together enough time to where he could get on the transplant list. And he's like, the only way I trust myself to do that is by checking myself into a treatment program. And he didn't end up making it. He died before he got on the list. And
Was he like chronically relapsing?
yeah, I mean, but even still, he entered into the program with a handful of months under his belt. Because I think it was a year back then that you had to get. It's
A
either
year.
6 months or a year. Is
I
it
think
a
it was-
year?
Yeah, 6 months to a year.
Yeah. So you have to have like documented sober time before they'll even let you get on the list.
Yeah.
And so he was a handful of months in, and he could sense that relapse was on the horizon. And he was just so uncomfortable and just so much pain. And yeah, I mean, alcohol is gnarly.
Yeah.
Like it is what it does to the human body.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about that today.
Yeah.
So like probably like a little bit later on, we'll start getting into like what happens to the body as we start drinking and like what's the sequence of events that occur as we get further and further down the road in alcoholism.
Yeah. Just the stages of liver failure is so interesting.
Yeah.
The alcoholic death versus the opiate death is very, very different. Very drawn out, long, painful. A lot of opiate deaths are pretty instant.
It reminded me of like watching somebody slowly die from drinking. Reminded me of the process of watching my dad pass away from cancer.
Wow.
Where it's like and it's just this slow decline.
But the crazy thing is that it's reversible.
Well, yeah, it
Right.
depends on how far you're down the road you are,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, I've seen people like you talked about the 28-year-old that
Yeah, they haven't
that
bounced
liver-
back.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
bounce back if they stop drinking.
The liver is it's an amazing organism.
Yeah.
The resiliency of
Yeah.
it.
Isn't that one of the only organs that'll like regenerate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once and there's not a 100% way of knowing of like, are we past the point of no return or not? And for some, like I've had those like many times with people that would come into the program where they've got the yellow skin and yellow eyes and they're bloated and you see all the effects of it. and you remove the alcohol, and then the liver kicks back on.
Yep, and they start getting
They
better.
start getting better. Yeah, no, it's.
I mean, there's acute liver failure where I've seen people that are like that age, and it's not that they're in full blown liver failure. It's just acute liver failure, and if you can catch it soon enough, they all get better. And I had this one. He was actually a physician who came in to treatment, and his belly was huge. Right,
Okay.
like guy like worked out, was like in really good shape, and just one day drank way too much, and his liver shut down
Just done.
and was done. And then it took him about like 4 or 5 months, but basically all the fluid came off, and then he was fine afterwards.
How does that work? So it's like, when, like, what is the fluid that gets drained from someone's stomach when their liver is failing like that?
So you start to get like ascites and like increased because there's a lack of protein that's happening inside of the bloodstream, and so all the fluid goes into the third spacing area, and so it moves into that space, and then it just sits there.
What is third spacing area?
So you've got areas inside of your vasculature, right? That's one space, right? Then you've got fluid inside of like your edema inside of the legs and things like that. But then if it's on the abdomen, that's another space.
Okay, that's the third space.
That's what I would consider third space.
Okay.
So it starts going into the space between your organs,
Yeah.
basically. So is it like seeping out of the liver then? Or is
No,
it
no, I
like.
think it's coming out of the vasculature.
Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
okay,
Wow.
Because there isn't enough protein inside to
Hold it.
maintain it inside
Yeah.
of there.
that's crazy. So what is the fluid made out of?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think like when we do taps, you look at to see like what's inside of it. There's any like infectious stuff inside. If there's any cells that are in there, but I think for the most part, it's fluid and like some proteins.
So like I would pop an abscess and a bunch of infection would come out, and
Yeah.
then the next day it would blow up with like platelets and shit, like just like clear fluid.
Yeah.
And then I would pop it again, and it would be like, a couple cups of like just this clear fluid, dude.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it kind of like similar to that, where it's just like the body is
No,
like?
well, the last time it's been a while since I've tapped somebody because we don't really do that anymore. Like we had a guy in the hospital that was supposed to get tapped, but like I mean it's a pretty clear fluid, right? Sometimes it's a little bit yellow, but there isn't very much stuff in it. It's extra
Yeah.
fluid.
Yeah. The body.
Yeah.
Well, really, I think, and that's something. I mean, one of the most interesting parts of just like alcoholism is the detox process.
Oh,
and like
dude.
DTs itself. You guys could talk for hours just about DTs.
Yeah.
You
I've
know.
got some stories for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, vivid hallucinations and like.
Did you ever detox from alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was kind of masked by because I was also doing benzos.
Oh.
So a lot of it was just.
Wouldn't that
benzo.
exacerbate a lot of the? Okay.
Yeah, benzo withdrawal is just like revved up alcohol withdrawal.
Yeah.
You know. So was I detoxing from benzos or was it alcohol? Who knows? It's kind of apples and oranges here. You know. But yeah, I experienced that. But then like that was basically my first week of sobriety was, and that was the hurdle that stopped me from getting help for so long, was this deep penetrating fear of detox, of getting past the first couple days, the first few days, the first 5 days, because
Yeah.
it was alcohol, benzos, and opiates.
Yeah.
With
Painful.
opiates alone is bad enough, and so then you throw in the others on top of it. It was just like brutal, and that's where it was almost beneficial that I went to jail at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
because I didn't have an option.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if I had checked myself in to detox programs a handful of times before, and and again this is 15 years ago, and detox programs were kind of different back then. Like a lot of them were like I don't want to say a bunker. It reminded me of like
A bunkhouse.
a bunkhouse. Like what would you call them? Like it's a bunch
You
of
call
bunk.
it social detox.
It's a bunch of just bunk beds in a big
Oh,
open
like
room.
in a barracks.
Barracks. It was like a barracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, here's some daytime television and some Imodium so you don't shit yourself. And
What would they do about the benzo withdrawal though?
nothing.
You wouldn't get anything.
I wouldn't get anything back then, man. Like
That's so crazy.
I know. Like they would, like I don't even know if they did a cows or a Siwa or anything during my time there.
Was
Like
this like state funded or what?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, these are state
So
funded.
you don't get any drugs there.
Didn't get nothing. No, I got Imodium and The Price
I
is
mean,
Right.
I
That
think
was
back in the day before there was Suboxone, like you just suffered. Like,
Yeah.
it was, suck it up.
the Suboxone
So-
wasn't really around back
Yeah,
then.
you're
You know, there was
not gonna-
methadone, and that was it.
You're not
Yeah.
gonna die from it. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be miserable.
Yeah.
And what they would do back in the day is they would hammer you with clonidine,
Oh, yeah.
and then they would give you so much. I remember stories that Dr. Luth would tell me is that back in the day before Suboxone was around, if you could lift your head up off the bed from the clonidine that you're on, they were like, we can give him a little bit more. Right? So as long as like you couldn't move, then they were fine with just giving you more and more.
That
and
was
more.
that was the assessment.
And that was the only way that you could get through it, right? And they just kept
Wow.
hammering you with more and more clonidine.
I mean, isn't the reason why they can't? It isn't a high thing; it's a blood pressure thing, right?
Yeah, the blood pressure thing.
Okay.
Yeah, the clonidine. You got to watch out for that. That's yeah. Clonidine. I would have more like in overseeing the detox and when I'd have more worries about clonidine than I would benzos
Yeah.
for a lot of these people. You know, because if you give the wrong dose of clonidine, you'll kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the crazy thing. That's a whole nother soapbox. But just like the regulations are so crazy in these programs around
Oh.
narcotic meds. But it's like you got clonidine right there. You give an extra couple of those, and somebody's donezo.
Yeah.
You know.
In jail back in the this is like the late 2010s when I like really started going to jail. They would give out the blister packs of cyclobenzaprine,
Mm.
right? It's like a low grade muscle relaxer, but racks of them, and we'd take like 20 of them.
Jeez.
And I black out on muscle relaxers for some reason, and so I would like it was like heaven at the time because I'd be kicking, and people would just have like I don't even know why they were getting them or whatever, but they would give them a full whatever that is, probably 30 or 40 pills.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, well, it was really like the last time I detoxed. You know, fingers crossed. You know, knock on wood. Last time. That was really the first time I was ever open and honest about the extent of my substance use too. Like that was another big part of like why I didn't get that many detox meds because I was still lying to myself and lying to them and be like, no,
I'm okay.
I dabble. Well, like if I'm feeling spicy, I'll take a Xanax every month or so. And like at that time, I was doing like 8 milligrams a day.
We know when you're lying.
Exactly.
We all know.
Exactly.
We've
And it
had
was in my
enough
own.
experience, right, to know like, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Come
because
on, really?
in our head we're saying, "Oh yeah, I take it, once a month," and to them this is what they see.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal. But yeah, I mean, like DTs, like that was like the time, because it was like a 3.7, like medical detox, not a full hospital,
Yeah.
but enough where we got 24-hour nursing. We got a doctor that sees you every day. You're able to kind of change the course over the course of it. But like where it stops is like, we don't have restraints or anything like that, or orderlies or security or anything. So like that would be the line. If somebody was at that point of like hallucinating where they're a danger to themselves or other people, and that would almost always happen. I mean, it was only like a couple of times a year at this detox program where somebody would be at that point of hallucinating where they are just off in the they're orbiting somewhere outside of Jupiter.
We usually we send them out at that point.
Yeah, and we'd send them out at that point. That's when they would go to the hospital.
So you would send them out at that point, and out of your detox.
Which one? The one in the hospital, or
Yeah.
so at that point, if someone comes into the hospital in delirium and they're having hallucinations, I don't mess around. Like they go directly into the ICU and we set them on a drip.
Yeah.
Just because it's tough to chase it. And I could give you a bunch of Ativan, like PO. I can give you a bunch of phenobarbital PO, but I would just be chasing it. And for me, it's better to just shut down the brain completely and let you like go to like basically knock you
dreamland
out
for a week,
for like maybe a day or two, and then slowly bring you back up. And like it's been my experience that like it's better to get ahead of it and not mess around.
Yeah.
And when you mess around, that's when problems start to happen. Because like we said, delirium carries a 5% mortality rate. right? So left untreated, I mean, it can be
That's
deadly.
1 out of every 20 people. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like serious.
Yeah, that's pretty high rate
I mean,
actually.
but that's why the insurance companies will cover detox for alcohol and for benzos, right?
Huh.
Because of that mortality rate.
Yeah. Is that dependent on the length of time, or is it just look, this guy needs to detox off of benzos, even if it's been 2 days?
What do you mean? Like,
So, like, let's say I relapse today and I take a bunch of Xanax,
okay,
and I went to a detox,
okay.
and they were like, "You've only been using heroin for 2 days. We're not going to detox you off that, but you've taken enough." Is it that you've taken any benzos and so we'll detox you, or is it do you have to meet a
It
threshold?
all depends upon how you've been primed, right? So there's this thing called the kindling effect, and so for alcoholics, every time you drink and you stop, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So every single like episode of like treatment that you have, like I'll have patients come in and they'll be like, "Oh, it's so much worse this time." I'm like, "Yeah, like you've conditioned your brain to withdraw even worse every single time you're coming in."
That's it. So him and I had a conversation about this where it's like, you have burned basically those pathways in your brain enough where it's people, if when I use heroin for 1 day, it's enough to feel sick the next day. Or like there are alcoholics who will drink for 2 days and they'll
Yeah.
get full blown DTs.
Yeah, your brain's become really accustomed to the withdrawal process, and you've become really good at getting into withdrawal,
Okay.
right? And so it's just worse and worse and worse every single time, even after like short sprees.
Yeah.
So like, let's say for instance, there's guy who's got like the ascites and the liver stuff. He'll drink for like a week or two, but then he'll come back into treatment or to detox, and it'll be a 7-day detox.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because his brain is just so accustomed to being in that particular state that it takes time for it to come back out of it.
And I've seen that. I've seen that even with people that had like years of abstinence,
Yeah.
where they'll relapse and start drinking again as heavy as they did years prior, and they go right back into that place of really intense detox symptoms.
Yeah.
It's just like the brain is like, all right,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go. It picks up where they left off.
So what was your detox like?
Mine wasn't that bad at all.
Okay.
I mean, the last time I drank, I've told you it's 4 gallons of vodka in 10 days.
Yeah.
But when I went into the psych facility, I think I probably got Ativan twice. And they were like, "That's it." And I was done in like 3 days. And I could never get past the second day of detox. That's why I kept going back to drinking. I couldn't get past that second or third day on my own.
Oh, that's the worst part. That's
Yeah.
the hardest part, is that second to third day. Yeah. No, mine, I mean, I went in for that assessment in jail, and they like go over everything
Yeah.
you've been using, and it's burned into my mind. with
Man,
it.
every time I hear
It's
your
like-
guys' stories, every time I hear stories from like Scott or from Matt, I'm like, I may not be an alcoholic.
Yeah, right?
It really wasn't that bad.
I mean, just don't go out and test that theory.
Yeah.
That
it's,
monster in the back of your brain is
Yeah.
trying to.
But you know what?
steering wheel again.
You still drank more in that 10 days than I've ever heard of. 4 gallons of vodka in
gallons,
10
that's a
days. That's a lot
That's
of
a
alcohol.
lot.
And it speaks to the progressive nature of what
Yeah.
addiction is, right? Where, yeah, Dr. Shah might not have had the opportunity to get there, but if he had,
If
he
I had, yeah.
probably would have.
It's the Yets.
I
Remember,
could have definitely gotten there.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
sponsor that would call it that. It was the Yets. So yeah, you didn't experience that yet,
Yeah.
but you definitely would if you gave yourself the right time.
Yeah, well, I mean, even on like the spectrum of functional alcoholics, you are still not functioning that well.
A lot of it's just based off of consequences.
I mean-
it's like, what consequences were you having in your life? Yeah,
They weren't that bad yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, they were on their way.
but it's like
I was about to lose the residency. I was about to lose my job. I was about to get kicked out of residency. It was getting there.
what about that internal unmanageability though?
Yeah,
right?
that was definitely
that was fucked. I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can I curse on this?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because I'm doing it.
No.
But it's like, and that's the part. It's like, all right, you didn't have the external, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
you weren't getting thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, but
Oh no, I would.
it
definitely
wasn't
wanna-
sunshine and rainbows between your ears.
No, definitely wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
Could not stand living.
As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, he wasn't an alcoholic. He was suicidal.
That's
But
what
anyway,
I
so
thought.
that's like when I checked in for it. That was the first time I was open and honest about everything I was using. I just laid it all out there. expecting like sympathy and compassion and everything.
At a jail.
At a jail. And he's like, all right. All right, just sign there. The next week is going to suck for you. Next. And that was basically it. I was like, oh, okay. And I just went to the bunk to sweat it out. It was horrible.
Okay.
Horrible.
So there was like always the bum in the pod that was like detoxing from alcohol, and they never showered, they never got up. Like it was like a thing where it'd be like whoever race it was like in charge of getting him to do whatever he needed to do. But and then there was always like the heroin addict detoxing, the alcoholic detoxing, and then the meth dude sleeping for 3 days. Right? And I actually have a funny story. I got arrested one time. So I'd been arrested I don't know how many times. And there was always that guy like in the corner in the holding cells like screaming about like Jesus and conspiracy theories and like just all this crazy shit. And I'd always be like, oh fuck, it's the crazy guy again. And then I was in jail, like, and I kind of like looked up and realized like everybody was looking at me, and I was like talking to people, but I realized like I was talking about the government like tapping my phone.
You were that guy.
I
were
was
that
that
guy.
guy. Like the government was tapping my phone. I can't believe I'm here again. Like all this shit, and everybody's like looking at me like, oh, I was the crazy guy. Like, fuck, dude, it was crazy.
It's
That's the eye
progressive.
opener.
Yeah, and it had always been. There was this guy. His nickname was Owl, and I would see him every third time that I got arrested. He would be there, like getting processed too, and he was always the crazy guy. And then I ended up having that experience, and then seeing him like maybe a year later, and I told him like what happened, and he was like, "Oh, dude, I'm not crazy. Like, you just get what I'm going through." I'm like, "Oh, fuck, dude, I'm fucking crazy."
At least you had the ability to notice that.
Well,
to,
the
like,
thing is,
see.
in my head, I'm going, yeah, I'm not crazy either.
Yeah. At least you're able to draw yourself back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would see it with like these clients coming in for detox. A lot of it, because it was a 50-acre ranch in the mountains of Colorado, where our milieu, our spread of clients was one side, 20-somethings, got into alcohol too much in college. It was just like kind of starting out down the road, recognizing there's a problem, maybe like a product of an intervention. And then we would work with like the local community as well. And that would be a really interesting spread of a lot of times like grizzled ranchers, people that lived in a rural community that had been drinking a case of Bud Light every day for the last 40 years and had never put it down. And so you try to assess and get a feel for what their detox is going to look like. But they could legitimately not say they've stopped drinking for 40 years. And they would come in, and those would be the clients that would go to that place of hallucination and DTs like quickly. And then off to the hospital they would go. And then oftentimes they get the helicopter ride down to the Front Range too, because that hospital couldn't even handle it. It's like a little mountain town hospital in the middle of nowhere.
So you were seeing like the beginning of the road and then the end of the road for alcoholism, like at the same place. And we had kind of previously talked about this before, but the dependency that your body, like the biological machine of the human body, develops dependencies and then adapts very quickly to that dependency. And then there's like a level of like stabilization almost that comes around the drugs or the alcohol constantly being in the system. And then when you remove it, it like basically goes into shock. Right?
Well, that would be an interesting thing. I'm sure we're going to dig into it more here, but it's like from that neuroscience perspective, like what happens when the alcohol is removed from the brain, and like why does it trigger those types of like misfiring with shakes and then up to seizure and everything else in between? Because that stuff is just so interesting. I mean, it is crazy what alcohol does to the body and to the mind when you're exposed to it for such a long period of time.
Yeah, when you're talking about like the GABA, like when you're really talking about the chemical effects of the chemical in the body.
Yeah.
And I always heard something, and Is it true that it is very similar effects, alcohol and gasoline? If you drink gasoline, it's very similar.
Ugh.
Yeah. Like you're killing the same, like what I heard was that it was like you were killing the same amount of brain cells. There's like physical damage to the organs that happens with gasoline, but other than that, it's very similar.
I would imagine gasoline fucks you up way worse.
Yeah,
Have you ever huffed gasoline?
No.
Okay,
No.
we won't even
No.
talk about it. But
I mean, I'm thinking about like when you said gasoline, right? I was thinking about the guys that like were drinking
moonshine.
No, not moonshine. They're drinking hand sanitizer,
Oh,
and what happens with that?
I had a few clients
so-
that did that over the
Blindness
years.
and shit like
Blindness,
that.
yeah.
I had a client once who got sideways drunk. She drank an entire, like, giant bottle of perfume, like
Ugh.
while she was in treatment. Yeah,
Gosh.
and that was like, because we had all those policies in place, right? Of
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no alcohol,
mouthwash,
mouthwash, and stuff like that. And she cracked open and drank an entire bottle of perfume, enough to get like sideways drunk.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Like what percentage of rubbing alcohol is perfume? Probably a decent
quite a
percentage.
bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, but I mean, it's like heartbreaking to see.
No, yeah.
somebody to be at that point of desperation.
I mean, have you met the
Yeah.
people that drink Sterno?
What's sterno? What is
Oh,
sterno?
Like Drano?
No, Sterno. So Sterno is the camp. So they come in canisters, and
Like
it's
the kerosene?
flammable. Yeah.
Okay.
And you strain it the same way that you would with rubbing alcohol.
Are we talking on those like green canister for like a camp stove?
Hmm.
Really?
Yeah, I knew a couple bums that would drink Sterno in like an emergency.
Why at that point?
Well, because they're
Drink
about to go through.
mouthwash.
They're
right?
about to go through.
Well, they don't got
withdrawal.
mouthwash. They're
Right, that's even
homeless.
more expensive.
Ah.
yeah.
They're trying to get the cheapest thing possible to
Is
get them that buzz
sterno
that they need.
less expensive than mouthwash?
Let me show you. I'm,
99 cents?
I mean,
gonna-
mouthwash is cheap.
I'm gonna show,
Yeah,
but they didn't
no,
have
but
it on
the-
hand.
But the like the big thing of like Listerine,
Yeah.
that's probably like $6-7.
And
right?
at that point, you might as well buy
5
vodka.
beer, yeah. You can at least get a pint or two off of that.
Yeah.
This is
Sterno.
Sterno.
Oh, those
Yeah.
things.
Hmm. And so they would crack it. There's the basically like
are
a sponge inside of it.
Those remind me of like catered events. right?
Yeah,
they do.
that's
the
exactly what it
little-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd met a couple people that like would drink Sterno, but it was on hand. They're bums. They're not drinking. They're not brushing their teeth. They definitely don't have Listerine. You know, it's like, what do they have? They have like this. They need to cook their food or whatever, and they have Sterno on hand. And so a couple different people in totally different places said that.
Wow. Well, it's just the nature of the beast. It's like I look at that and I think like compassion of like those people did not set out on the course of drinking Sterno.
No.
It's like the slow regression down.
Like how desperate do you have to be for that to be your option?
Right. And for it to make
Right.
sense. It made sense to him at the time.
Well, and here's the
So-
thing. I don't know if I would even connect the two. I would have never connected the two. I don't know many people that would have until I heard somebody say that. I just don't imagine I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sick. Where's the Sterno?
No, I mean, it's when you're in a pinch, someone teaches you, like, hey, you know what? You can scrape the inside of the bong and get like some resin out of it. Right? Like, oh, that's so brilliant, right?
Mhm.
I never would have thought of that.
Right. I bet those guys that drink the Sterno the first time they heard that is like, I'm never going to get to that
I
place.
bet.
It's never going to happen where I'm going to drink the Sterno. And then they're there. Liquor store's closed. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You layer in the circumstances. It makes sense. Like I would have the same thing. Like when I process with a group of clients about, how somebody could drive drunk with their kids, where it's like on black and white on paper. And it's like objectionably, it's a horrible thing.
Mhm.
It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like you layer in all the circumstances around it where like, and this was the story I heard over and over again where, so-and-so got a DUI with their kids in the car it's shame and guilt, where they are in a separated marriage and they drop the kids off in the morning and they tell themselves, all right, I'm just going to have 1 or 2.
Right.
I'm
I'm not
gonna
gonna
have-
get wasted.
I'm not going to get wasted today. I got to pick up the kids at 3:00, and then it's the
Right.
same powerlessness stuff that we hear about all the time, where they have 2, and then it's like I can have 4. Okay, 4. I can have 6. Honestly, I drive a little bit better when I'm tipsy. It's not going to be a big deal, and it gets to that point where it's like they are way too drunk to drive, and the option is pick up the phone and call their ex-wife and say, "Hey, I did it again. I'm too drunk to pick up the kids," or it's the mind's power to justify.
Yeah.
Of like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And
What's always blown my mind is because of the way that my addiction went is when I hear people say like, "Oh yeah, I just wouldn't drink until 4 after the kids got home." You're like, how do you I couldn't just not do my drug of choice because I would feel it. I would feel me going through all of what it means to not be able to do it. Versus alcohol, I've heard many, probably both of you have heard many people say like, "Oh yeah, I just wouldn't drink until they got home or
Oh, yeah.
until my."
Yeah, but
then that time
Yeah.
between 8 a.m. and 4, the mental obsession is just
but your
out of
withdrawal
control.
kicks in sooner,
Yeah.
right?
Well, okay, that's the
Then-
question.
so
How
it's like the
fast does it
timing
kick
of
in?
it. So for alcoholics, right? I mean, you get the beginnings of the withdrawal in the first like 12 hours, but it doesn't get really bad until like the 24-hour mark. So
Oh,
it's just the insomnia and like the hypertension and the sweats maybe. The real withdrawal side of it for me, it didn't happen until like the 48-hour mark. I could tolerate it, right? The thing that kept me going back over and over and over again was a lack of sleep, right? But for you guys on the heroin side, it's like it's physically debilitating. You can't move, you can't function, like nothing. But when does that kick in for you guys? At the 24-hour mark, right?
no. I mean, okay, so here's the thing, and you know this,
Oh,
right?
but you're a different beast. You've gone through it a couple of times.
Well, and here's the thing. I've kicked in jail so many times.
Yeah.
Like once the option is not there, it doesn't even it's a whole different thing.
Right.
Right? But like I know that I have like panicked before and it's only been 2 hours. Right? And so just I think it's just the level of access or like I'd be planning ahead or something and it'd be like, okay, I'm going to have a really hard time trying to get a hold of this guy if I don't get it like right now and panic would set in. Right? So there's almost like a mental part of it that can kick off the withdrawal like accidentally or like whatever like really fast and then there's like the mental part of it where it's like I'm in jail, I can't get it anyway, and it's like I'm okay.
That was like always like that was like that clear example of how much the psychology of it all is so big in withdrawal and in detox. Is at least with the opiates part. It's like, when you're in jail and there's nothing you can do about it, it was way easier.
Much easier
than knowing, okay, all I gotta do is steal that thing, sell that thing, do that thing. I mean, it would be a huge list, but like the thing that would nudge you into doing it is like, I've never been so sick in my whole life.
Yeah.
This is the only way that I'm gonna feel like a normal human again. And yeah, no, it's crazy the mental part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing
huge.
how powerful that part of it is. And like from what I've seen, and this is something that Dr. Shah and I talk about all the time is like, he's never realized like that there's, at least maybe he has or not, I don't know, realized like the massive differences in like the withdrawals, the mannerisms, like the way that meth addiction manifests or heroin addiction manifests or alcoholism manifests. Just totally different people, and they do different things. You can like me and you could like see a guy walking down the street and be like, oh, he's sick, right? Whereas I don't know if Dr. Shaw could do that. Whereas I don't know if I
Wait,
could.
he's sick how? Like, oh, he's withdrawing?
Yeah.
Or
Could you?
I bet you could. You've seen it enough.
I think I've seen it enough.
Like if somebody was like, especially like they were starting to get the shakes starting to come on.
Oh, I mean, like
Yeah.
alcohol withdrawal for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be an issue, right? But I don't know about like the opiate withdrawal.
Yeah.
Depends on how close they are to you, and you see the
Yeah.
watery eyes.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like
Ugh.
walking down the street. I know if I'm driving and I see like certain signals in the body that are almost subconscious. Like I could just see somebody and be like, "Oh fuck, poor guy,"
Yeah.
like versus
But
alcohol.
that's like you going to that's the world that you are in, right? Like you can go to any city in the country, right, and be like, all right, where can I go buy dope from? Right?
NA.
You could drive in NA. But you could drive around and be like, that guy's selling over there.
Sorry.
Right? Or
Yeah.
you would know like who's got some or who's
Yeah, I
potentially
mean,
selling.
yeah. It isn't as readily accessible. right? But there are definitely things that you can like look out for to kind of like see like well, for me it was always homeless people. I could go to any city and either go to the place that I just mentioned or go to the homeless camps and get pointed to it immediately. And I've so when I really like got into my addiction, I was going from state to state working. So I've been to like 38 states in 11 months, and we were just driving across the country, and it was like I wasn't bringing that with me. I was going to the city and finding it, and it was never hard. And typically it was okay. I'm gonna go to the homeless population. If that doesn't work, I can always go there.
Right.
And going there got you like better results.
That's so crazy.
But well, for me at least, and this was also 16 years ago, 17 years ago, something like that.
Mm.
You know, it was like 2006 and 7 and 8.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Versus alcohol, it's fucking everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the hardest part about it is it's socially acceptable. It's like, you know, you don't see 10 advertisements for heroin during the Super Bowl.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, it's like you see all the beer and whiskey and everything else.
and
you know?
it's so like the advertisement for it is so sexualized.
Mm.
Like a lot of those Bud Light commercials got like the Dallas Cowgirls in
Oh, yeah.
it, you know, or like
Well, it's like the FOMO. It's the fear of missing it. You know,
Yeah.
It's like this is your gateway to having a good time.
fun. Yeah.
Which is just so ridiculous.
Hmm.
You know, that was a huge part of like early recovery for me, was going to my first show, my first concert sober. You know, like, and that was like a big aha moment where I had fun, where I
Oh
like,
yeah.
genuinely connected with the music and enjoyed my time there, and then I wasn't like full of shame or fear or regret afterwards, and zero hangover.
Yeah.
You know, like. And it's the same type of thing. It's like, you know, how often in early recovery do people tell themselves that this is the only way I'm going to have fun. This is the only way I'm going to be creative. You know, I would see that because I played music since I was a kid, you know, and that was like one of my fears is like, I'm not going to be able to play music anymore. I'm not going to be able to be creative. And it was, I'm more creative now than I was then.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways.
It's funny because
It's the misconceptions we tell ourselves to justify continue going down the road.
okay,
you
so
know?
there is a level of misconception, but there is also some truth to like the 27 Club, right? Like some of the greatest,
No, that's true.
you know, and they all like overdosed and died at 27.
Right. But
And-
but then it's like, all right, it's an element of pragmatism. You got to be realistic. It's like, all right, I'm not Jimi Hendrix.
Well, and that's what I'm. Yeah.
You know?
The other thing was they were very unique musicians.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
unlimited access.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, because like the part that kept me on the path to recovery was that none of my friends or family would bail me out of jail. And that first week was torturous. You know, and it was a $250 bond. A
Wow.
$250 bond, and I stayed in that jail for 4 months on a $250 bond.
Wow.
You know, because nobody would bail me out. And thank God they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I tried everything. Like, I called my sister, like, that first week pretending that I'd gotten jumped. And it's like, my life is in danger. You need to come bail me out now. And she did not buy it for a second. And thank God she didn't.
Yeah.
You
can't
know?
you can't get credit for that. You can't be like, let me put this on my credit card, or like.
I didn't have like, all of them were, like, just
Yeah.
completely screwed.
I don't.
Like, I didn't have a credit card that I could put $250 on, you know?
So in California, you can sign for yourself,
Okay.
especially for two. But you know, California's got way different bond amounts. For what he $250 for you were
I mean,
arrested
it's
for?
more expensive for the state to keep you
Oh no,
for
yeah.
those 4 months.
Well,
than it is
oh,
to pay
yeah.
the 250.
They're
Yeah.
they're actually trying to get rid of cash bonds because it's really just a big scam.
Yeah.
Like it's really it's really crazy like the way that it ends up working out. But in California, for what you got arrested for, that would have been $100,000
Wait,
bail.
Why is it?
Mm.
Why is it? Why is it a scam?
Well, because people will get stuck in the system like that, and you
Got it,
know,
okay.
so they'll have a $50 bond, and if you're indigent and you don't have any money to your name,
Then you're stuck there.
then
Okay,
you're stuck.
Understood.
Well, and
understood.
then it's also like the reason why mine was 250 is because I'd never gotten in trouble at all before this. You know, like I'd never even had a speeding ticket when I got arrested for this, and it was basically I I took my dad's checkbook and wrote a whole bunch of checks to myself. And so on paper, it was 87 felony counts,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And so they're going off my previous record. And since there wasn't that, then it was like, all right, $250 bond.
Yeah.
And
87 felonies.
87 felonies,
No,
sir.
in California, it would have been an insurmountable amount of bail.
Right. And they'll do that with like an indigent person that's waiting to go to trial or have their day in court for some small misdemeanor offense
Yeah.
or something.
Yep.
And they end up spending months in jail while they're
Mhm.
waiting for that court date to then be found not guilty. And so it's basically, false imprisonment.
Yeah, and so the alternative to that is like the feds use a pretrial release, and really that's probably a more legitimate way to do it. Like you either have to prove that they are a danger to society and keep them, and here's the other thing, you have a much greater chance of beating your case if you fight it from the streets. That's just a fact, and so they want you to fight from jail, right? So
Well,
like,
it's like you have free access to like research.
I mean, yeah,
and
you get to
talk to
now.
attorneys,
Mhm.
and like you get to bother the public defenders and make sure you're actually getting represented. And
Yeah.
like even just sending a letter out in jail is
Yeah.
like a huge task,
Mhm.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but well, and then I knew so many people that would intentionally get arrested because they would rather go to jail for a handful of days and have a warm bed
Mhm.
and 3 hots and a cot than sleep on the streets.
Yeah.
And you'll still see that.
Right.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
still see that.
Yeah, yeah. There was yeah. In California you can go to jail for 3 days basically for sleeping on the streets. It's called something, I forget now. But you would like get a ticket, go to court, they'd release you.
Hmm.
Right? And so people would like it gets cold in San Diego during the winter. Like it gets probably down to like the upper 40s at night. And so for people who are not geared for cold weather, that is fucking cold to be on the streets. And if it rains, it's whatever. And so people, yeah, fill up the jails. I've heard it's probably true across the country. They fill up jails during the winter.
Yeah. Well, and in Colorado, it's like those are legit winters up there.
Yeah.
All right. Single digits for a handful of months.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it makes
And
sense.
snow.
Yeah.
Like not just cold, it's snowing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine being homeless here because the complete opposite of that. It is so humid and so hot, so uncomfortable. Like being homeless is already uncomfortable. Being a drug addict that's homeless is very uncomfortable anyway. Like the body, like you're not showering, it's very uncomfortable. But then imagine like, I mean, I didn't leave my house for 3 weeks this summer because it was just gross stepping outside.
Yeah, it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hot. Well, what other alcohol-related things can we touch on here? Here we go.
Yeah, the way that this live works, right, is we choose a discussion topic, and then Dr. Shah and I, we go back and forth on just information, the neurological doctor and the layman client, basically. Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
How has your medical understanding of alcohol use disorder changed in the last decade?
Yeah. So what they've come up with is there's a ASAM or AMSA.
SAMHSA.
ASAM,
ASAM.
American Society of Addiction Medicine.
Yeah, put out a piece saying that addiction was a chronic brain disease and not a moral failing. And so what they've shown with neuroimaging, right, is that there's actually a hijack that's happening inside the brain's reward circuitry. And so that neuroimaging kind of points back to the direction of like, oh, this is a chronic brain disease. And genetics accounts for about 50 to 60% of the risk. And so they're showing more and more things that are occurring along a spectrum rather than it just being like you're an alcoholic, you're not an alcoholic. So the way that we're looking at addiction these days, and especially with the work that we're doing, has changed significantly, right? And so what we're doing is we're looking at it more from a neuroscience perspective than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it very often now where people will say that genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger,
Right.
right?
So I mean, the same category, right? Is that you can plant a seed in the desert and nothing will happen. But if you plant it in fertile soil, then it will bloom.
Yeah.
An alcoholic.
Mm. And then what about those percentages? Because I've worked with some where there's no family history, or at least like immediate family history. That
Right.
was always going to be like the next question to it. Is it like, all right, what about your grandparents? What about your great
Well,
grandparents?
but I mean, so when I look at addiction, I don't just think about alcohol. Look at, are there any process things going on, right? And then I also look at how do you respond to fear, and how healthy is your response to fear, and that's for me the core root of it. So like a lot of times when they talk about, oh, alcoholism skips a generation, right? It's like, well, that fear pathway was always there, right? The inability to cope with fear in a healthy manner. And so what happens is that, mom and dad grew up watching grandpa and grandma drink a ton, and they're like, we're never doing that, right? And
Right.
so then they don't drink at all. But the same like thought patterns and the same like, response to fear is still there. And then the
Right.
kids come along, they've never seen the parents drink, and they're like, oh, well, this will be okay, and not really getting the idea of it. It's just the
That's
core
exactly how it
compensating
was.
mechanism.
That's exactly how it was for me growing up. Because like my grandparents were, especially on my dad's side, really bad alcoholics, and yeah, so both my mom and my dad never really used much at all. My mom definitely, she got hung up on the pain medication, those late '90s, that stuff. Your OxyContin man there, but
Yeah.
but like they intentionally went against it. Like I was emptying out stuff from my dad's old house over the weekend. I still have some old boxes that I'm continuing to go through, and I found a fat folder of ACA stuff, so adult children of alcoholic
Oh,
stuff
nice.
that my
Okay.
dad had looked into.
Wow.
And so he was he and I had never talked about it at all. Like I never knew at all that he had gone to meetings, and like there was like step work and stuff that he had done
Yeah,
in
so
ACA
he grew up in an alcoholic family.
Oh yeah,
Did
So
you
that-
look through the step work?
I perused.
Okay.
Hey, wait, your
And-
dad's step work?
I mean a little bit. Well, he
Okay.
died last year.
Got it,
You
okay.
know, so it's like
That'd be kind of a special thing, I would think. To, like,
Yeah.
Also,
it was cool. Yeah, it was cool
I
to
think
see.
once they pass away, you're allowed to look at it.
I would say so.
I think
And
so
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I
I think if I were to like take pictures of it and post it on Facebook or something, that might not be cool.
Yeah.
But
I
for
mean-
me, as the executor of his estate,
Yeah.
Well, also, I don't know if Dr. Shaw knows the story between you and your dad, but I would imagine, knowing the background, that it would probably be like a really cool thing for you.
you would
to
have been
look through.
100% okay for me to look through.
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
100%
Oh, yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you wish everybody knew, everybody in recovery specifically, knew about the neuroscience behind addiction?
Yeah, it's really important to see that the brain actually physically changes based upon the use and the disuse, right? And the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the majority of the decision-making process, becomes impaired and it becomes hypofrontal. And that the amygdala is the portion of the brain that's hyperactive. So there's a hyperactive stress response and a hypofrontal prefrontal cortex, which then leads to an unchecked fear response. So that's what we keep going back over and over and over, right? The root of this is fear. How do I deal with fear? How do I manage my fear? How do I take the fear and address it in a healthy way instead of like checking out from it? And that's what all addiction is, right? I'm trying to escape my reality. And that recovery takes time because you're building new prefrontal pathways. They don't just happen overnight, right? They need to be reinforced and reinforced and reinforced.
No, but you said something that was kind of eye-opening to me recently, and you said that when you have a new thought, that new pathway is established, but now it's like massively important to reinforce it.
Yeah, so that's why I love it when people go to meetings and they hear a new idea, right? That new idea, you just built a new prefrontal pathway that you wouldn't have gotten before, right? Because you're sitting in a meeting in a quiet space where you're out of fight or flight and you're actually being able to absorb all of that stuff. And then it's coming at you and you're able to say, does that apply to me? So when I have patients or people like going into meetings or we're in process group, right? We always talk about speaking in an I perspective.
Pull it closer.
Talk about yourself in an I perspective, right? And what that does is it allows me to circumvent all of your defense mechanisms by saying it in an I perspective. Like, I did this. And so your brain has to go through and filter through and be like, did I do that too? Does that apply to me? And so all of a sudden, instead of it saying no right off the bat, if I said, you're a drug addict, right? I would be like, I'm not a drug addict, fuck you, right? Or if I'm like, my drug addiction looked like this, your brain goes through and it categorizes, right? Does that apply to me? And that's why I love meetings so much, is because you can get better further along by hearing other people share about their experience, strength, and hope than you could by yourself in a like one-on-one therapy session.
Yeah.
Yeah. So t- there's a phrase specifically attributed to the rooms in the 12-step thing. It says the therapeutic value of one alcoholic helping another,
Yeah.
Without parallel.
right?
Yeah.
Without parallel, right?
Yeah.
And my experience with therapists and like a lot of people who are qualified to do that work, trauma work specifically, a lot of them are not identifying with the alcoholic part.
Yeah.
There's so much with it too, where even in like outpatient programs, inpatient programs, there's a reason why it's so centered around group work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. It's like that's like the bedrock of evidence-based practices. Group therapy is one of the most effective tools that can be used to help someone overcome
Yeah.
this.
So I,
And it's the same idea because it's like they're hearing other people share and talk about their stuff, and then it's them
Right.
relating to it.
and especially
you
when
know.
you hear it from an old timer, right? That starts off with the problem, then goes into solution. So then now you can get on board with this, and then he'll take you all the way up to solution. But if I don't identify with the problem, then I'm not going to be able to identify with the solution either.
Yeah.
And so that's why identification in the rooms is so important.
Yeah, I that's kind of something that I say a lot, right? The majority of the world that doesn't have to deal with addiction, they kind of stay in the solution around substances their whole life. Our lens is we're coming from the problem towards the solution.
Yeah.
And so that's and like the lens that I really look at addiction through is through peer support work anyway. And with it's very hard to do that work without the lived experience.
Yeah. No,
Right.
absolutely.
It's
It's
pretty
peer to
impossible.
peer.
Yeah. All right, I got to jump. You guys keep going.
Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
All right, cool.
Thanks for letting me, crash your party here.
Yeah.
All right, you guys get
Anytime.
after it.
All right.
You gonna turn off his mic?
I got it right here.
Okay, cool. See you, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we?
What do we wish that people knew that are in recovery about the neuroscience part of addiction?
Yeah, and I think I really want people to understand the model and what we're proposing, right? In terms of the hyperactivity of the amygdala and why it's so important to go through that 4-stage process. And that stage process is, 1, finding a sense of safety, 2, trying to get into a place where you are not getting all of your stuff re-triggered, then building community, getting your oxytocin, and then building your prefrontal pathways. Like that is the formula for recovery.
And so I think a lot of people like baseline understand the importance of the group work. What can you point to? I mean, I guess we did talk about that, right? About the therapeutic value. Where I was going with that is, what do they mean by the therapeutic value?
I think for me, it's so I go back to how quickly are you building new prefrontal pathways,
Okay.
right? So the therapeutic value is, we look at this in treatment all the time. You walk in and you're the person that's being taught by the person that's been there for a month, right? And so in treatment, they told me, you as the person that's been here for 2 days can help out the person that's been here for 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what am I? I was like, do you know where the bathroom is? And I'm like, yeah, it's over there. Like, do you know what time lunch is? And I'm like, yeah, it's at this time. It's great. Show that guy this.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is that as I'm teaching someone else, I'm reinforcing the things that I already know.
Okay.
So in medicine, we do this all the time. It's see one, do one, teach one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see a procedure, you watch them do it for the first time, and you're like, okay, I kind of understand what's going on. You do it yourself. That reinforces it again, but the real mastery comes from teaching someone else how to do it, right? But then it goes back into the whole bonding thing. And so for me, the group work and the interaction is all about the oxytocin. So when it goes back to intensive work with another alcoholic, it's because of the community that's formed there and the trust and the oxytocin that's being released, because I don't want anything from that guy. I'm doing it completely altruistically.
Another thing that you hear, right? They're on a life-saving mission.
Yeah.
One of the things that it isn't totally clear to me on like the life-saving mission. Whose life are we talking about?
Whose life do you think you're talking about?
I mean, yeah, the alcoholic who's suffering, right? But
Right.
how much of that is actually benefiting the person who's going on the mission more than the person who they're trying to save.
It's really interesting, right? Because I talk about this with some of my patients, in that one of my frustrations in like in 12 step in general is that they are taking their slow time, taking them through the steps.
Mm.
And so I'm like, do it fast, do it quickly, do it again, over and over and over again. Whereas like some sponsors are like, oh, you relapsed, right? Like, we got to do step one again, right? You clearly don't understand it. When I'm like, yeah, they get step one, they get step two, they get step three, right? Get into the solution of 4 and 5, right? Do you really need to like have them sit at step one again for a month, step two again for a month, step three again for a month? Like, let's get into the 4 and the 5.
Yeah. I mean, how does the book say to do it?
Uh, we were doing for the Salvation Army the Wally P method,
Mm-hmm.
and they did it in like, I think it was like a 12-hour period.
All of them.
All of
Yeah.
everything in a
Mm-hmm.
12-hour period, and they were doing it. We slowed it down to like a 4 week process, but it was still
Very quick.
very very quickly, right? It
Yeah.
was getting the big things off your chest and then doing it again, doing it again, doing
Yeah.
it again.
Because even in 4 weeks, you're doing a step every 3 days. Something like that.
Yeah, very
Um,
quickly.
But I mean, early AA, they were doing it in 15 minutes.
Oh, were they?
I mean, yeah, they were in the room, and then 15 minutes later, they were in the next room with the same person that just did it.
All 12 steps.
I mean, they were talking them through it, and then like, okay, you ready to do this? And like going literally to the next room.
And doing what? Doing that 4th and 5th step?
No, doing the guy that just did the 12 steps is
Okay.
going to the next room and helping the next guy do it.
What?
Yeah, it was like immediately.
I mean, I heard stories about it being like over the course of a weekend, where you couldn't actually go to the meetings. That's where the whole
I'm talking
anonymous
about
thing came from.
pre-meetings. Like this is them in the hospital trying it out.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
With,
this
like,
is Bill and Bob.
Bill
like,
and Bob was
yeah.
like the first alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
interesting.
Bill like went to the first person, tried it, and he was like, "This is fucking amazing." And then he like, they developed it a little bit, and they were like,
Yeah.
"Okay, now go try it." And they just literally like went from room to room to room, and it'd be like by the time they got down the hall, there'd be like 7 people that had done it.
I didn't know that. That's
Mhm.
kind of cool. Where'd you learn that from?
I just
Was it-
read a bunch of like,
Was it in that book? There's an AA book about the history of AA and the founding
Yeah.
of AA, and like something about God in the title. I
So-
never read that book.
so most people don't realize this, but there's like 12 core parts of the literature.
Okay.
There's the big book, how it works. There's a bunch of literature about the early history, about the philosophies, and I get why they aren't talked about as much because that's where it really gets into like Bill and Bob's history and like who
Right.
they were. And there's some like really tragic stories about like what happened later on in the history. And so I get it why they don't push that as much. But for me, the way that it made the most sense was when I read everything.
Right.
And then I had like a much better idea of like why it was done the way that it was done. And also why it was done very quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's,
And I thought it was done really quickly because you wanted to go and help somebody,
I mean,
right? The helping someone else was the key to all of it.
yeah, the key to it was the therapeutic value
Yeah.
of one alcoholic helping another. It doesn't talk about the person that you're helping. It's you're helping yourself,
You're helping yourself. Yeah.
right? And so, but yeah, there's so much like the early AA history is so rich with different like events and just like the dialogues and the conversations, even pre-Oxford group. You know, it was like that 100 Christians that like got together and like developed this whole philosophy, and then they borrowed from that, and then how the Oxford group was like developed and maintained, and then like all of the branches from there
Yeah.
and how it spread out. And then there was different philosophies that were popping up based on this group, right? And it's stuff that's still talked about today.
And AA was just one of them.
AA was the mother. AA was the center of the
Okay.
wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, because there was like disciples. There was like Bill and Bob's disciples, basically. That was like going back to the city that they came from.
Yeah.
And doing their
spreading
thing.
the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But they all had like, obviously they're different people, so they had like different philosophies on how or why to do it, which was why some of the literature was like consequence of that, because they'd be like, no, that you can't do that, you don't do this, like how it works. Here you go.
Right. They got one book together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. So let's go back to the alcohol thing, right? Because
Yeah.
I want to stay on topic because I don't want it to sprawl. Because the thing is, so here's the thing, right? If someone logs in to this particular episode,
Yeah.
right, they're logging into this episode to hear
For the
about to hear about alcohol and the stuff that's important about alcohol, right? And so if we're like sprawling all over and it's like a 4 hour podcast, they're gonna be like, "What the hell? Did we listen? Wait, that's
what are
not
we
what I
listening
tuned
to?
in for.
Yeah.
I didn't tune in for this at all." It reminds me of like the podcasts that we listen to that are impactful to you. Like they're an hour and a half and they're like right on point. They just get right into it, right? And they're like, "Here's what we're doing. We're doing this. Like, answer these questions," right? And they'll shoot back and forth, but they'll stay on.
Dr. Shaw. Those are recorded. They're probably 5 hours. And
Are
then
they?
Yeah, they probably
And they edit
trim it down.
They trim it down.
We're
to
doing a live. People
Wait,
want to
wait,
hear us
wait.
bullshit. Let's ask the people. Oh, there's only one. There was like 6 people in here. Okay, whoever is listening right now,
Okay.
answer this question in the chat. Would you rather hear us like talk about things and then go off on tangents and rant and then go back to it, or just stay laser focused on the subject at hand?
Well, okay, wait. So you're telling me that all those podcasts that I listen to, right? They're like the 3 hour ones. They are really like 6 hour podcasts.
So
and then they
no.
trim it down.
What I'm saying is like the laser focused ones.
Yeah.
They probably have like a 4 hour recording session and they
Okay.
trim all the fat off, and then it ends up being an hour and a half.
Okay.
But you're talking about like a 3+ hour. That's not much editing going into that. They're posting the whole thing.
Okay.
But like I can now that I've like kind of seen under the hood of this, I'm like, okay, they are definitely trimming a lot of
the
stuff down.
out.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
it's either that or they're like gods of staying focused.
I know. Well, I figure like when like the ones that you and I listen to, right?
Yeah.
Like the Diary of a CEO,
Hmm.
right? Like he just gets into it, right? And he
Yeah,
goes on tangents like every once in a while, but like brings it right back.
yeah. So the thing about like him, right? Very like his mind works in a very inquiring way, right?
Right.
You think he's not like, okay, what do you mean about this? Or like, da, 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 and then they're just cutting it out. He wants the message to be something specific, and he knows his audience, so he's trimming it down. But for him, he's like, oh, I got this guy in front of me. I'm asking him every fucking thing that I want to know.
Right.
You know, so
Interesting.
yeah. But if you watch, you can see the cuts.
Okay.
I've started like watching that to that level where I'm like, oh, they are
Oh,
cutting.
they did cut it
Yeah.
from there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens to the brain after the first drink then?
So after someone takes the very very first time they ever drink, right? There's an exaggerated dopamine response initially, but what happens is that over time, the brain produces less and less dopamine and has fewer receptors for that alcohol, and so you kind of need that alcohol to kind of feel normal, and it becomes a conditioned neural pathway. After the GABA gets released and the large quantities of the GABA get released, your brain starts to say, all right, here's the normal amount of GABA that's going to be in our system, and it starts producing less of its own GABA, and then it starts increasing the glutamate to counteract the GABA. So the GABA is the inhibitory pathway or the inhibitory neurotransmitter, the GABA is the excitatory neurotransmitter. And so that's a lot of the stuff that happens during withdrawal is that imbalance between the two.
Right, and which it's heavy towards the GABA, right?
Or
There's a deficiency in GABA.
Yeah, there's less GABA, and so there's a glutamate overload. That's where all of the excitability inside the brain starts to
Right,
happen.
like the actual disconnect is in that deficiency, like
Right,
where
tremors and
the signals are not being processed correctly.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the progression of the liver
Okay.
when an alcoholic goes from a healthy liver to an unhealthy liver.
Okay. So I mean, the very first stage of that is a fatty liver disease, and so about 90% of alcoholics have that, which is completely reversible. Right. The next phase up is alcoholic hepatitis, right, where you get the elevated AST levels, the elevated transaminases, and the elevated liver enzymes, and that is also reversible, right? Then you get to the next phase, which is the fibrosis and the scarring. That's a little bit less reversible, and then cirrhosis is the permanent scarring of the liver. And what happens is when you permanently scar the liver, it becomes more and more difficult for you to be able to pass blood through that area.
Okay.
So the liver is responsible for filtering out all of the blood that's inside of the system. And what ends up happening is that you get a lot of portal hypertension. So that means inside of the veins that are coming back through, like if they start to like expand and swell because there's a basically a clog there.
Okay, so does this like downstream effect? Does this kind of like cause hardening of the tissue
The
at least
hardening
in the vascular system?
of the liver
Okay, in the liver,
in the
not in the
liver, right?
vascular
But
system.
the problem is not in the vascular system, inside of the in the venous system,
Yeah.
right? So what happens at that point is the rest of the stuff, right? Was the captive medusa? Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
The captive medusa and the esophageal varices.
Okay.
So the captive medusa is like they can't find a way back to the heart because the liver's been congested. So all these
Uh,
accessory veins start having excess amounts of blood flowing through them.
uh,
So inside of the belly, you'll see all these veins get engorged, and so it looks like Medusa's head.
oh
So they
wow.
call it the Captus Medusa. But then you also have it inside of the esophageal varices, right, where the veins get really really thick and plump, and have a higher likelihood of bleeding at that point.
Okay.
And it's all because all this portal hypertension that's occurred, right? And then the other thing that happens is that the liver stops making clotting factors. And so the liver is responsible for all of the important clotting factors in the clotting cascade. And so your blood becomes really, really thin and has problems coagulating.
Okay. Question. Um, the scarring that happens in the okay, the effects of the scarring in the liver very similar to the effects of the scarring in the amygdala as far as the pass through of the signaling versus the blood. Would you agree?
No.
Okay.
The scarring in the amygdala is different,
Okay.
right? So that scarring in the amygdala happened like long before you became an alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm not saying cause, but as far as the effect, like it stops being able to do its job properly, which is
Yeah,
ultimately to
yeah,
pass through.
okay, yeah. So it's so inside of the brain for the amygdala, it is the misfiring that occurs.
Okay.
So the scarring in the brain classically means that you are having neurons misfiring in like one direction or the other. So that's what we're equating the misfiring of the amygdala, the hyperactivity in the amygdala to that, right? Whereas the portal hypertension in the liver is basically just a blockade, right? Because there's no signals going back and forth. It's
Correct.
a pass through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having it used to be a sponge, right? Now that sponge is rock hard and you can't get anything. You can't get it to hold any water.
Okay. Now the other question is, like, what actually is the scarring? What is it from? Like, why does a scar appear? Because it
In
like
where?
when I think of like a scar,
Yeah.
like this scar right here, right?
Okay.
I cut it and then it healed, and it's much stronger and it's much. But there was a cut in it, and it had to
Yeah,
heal
and
that.
so then all these like collagen factors, right, for your scar over there, started laying all of these paths on top of it and all the skin on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in a concerted manner, but in a manner that was just like, let's just close all of this up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the scarring and the fibrosis that occurs inside of the liver, I would kind of equate to that,
Okay.
right? And so it's damage that's occurring to there, and so it's trying to fix it,
Oh, okay.
right? And so
That
then
makes
it's
sense.
like it's laying tracks again, right? And it's like, all right, well
Mm-hmm.
this is bad, right? Like let's try to fix this area.
And
And
it
it's all the inflammation that's occurring inside of the liver.
okay. So you've seen an alcoholic's liver. Have you held an alcoholic's liver?
Oh, let me think. No, I've held more brains than I've held livers. But I mean, we've seen pictures of it inside of like when we did. Wait, oh, let me think back. No, because in the anatomy lab, we only got the healthy people. We didn't get the unhealthy people.
Okay.
We didn't get we didn't see the pathology of like bad livers.
Okay. My question is, like, when if you were to touch it, would it be like noticeably different?
Yeah, like a lot harder, right? Not
Yeah.
as like not because it's all fiber. It's fibrosed at that point, so it's not as like soft and tender and like can
Mm-hmm.
pass. You can pass like blood through it.
Yeah.
No longer be able to do that.
So the way that the liver is hooked up to the digestive system, there's like an in and an out, right?
It's not really hooked up to the digestive system. It's hooked up to the portal vein and then the I can't
Okay.
remember the artery that goes back or the vein that goes back.
Okay.
to
So
it.
you have like a hose that goes in and a hose that goes out.
Right, and it's basically filtering all of the stuff that's inside of the blood through that particular organ.
If you held like a water source to the in part of a
Yeah.
liver, and would it filter through it?
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's
Okay.
the whole point of the liver. The
Okay.
liver is the filter for the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then when that filter stops working, right, when we get to the hepatic encephalopathy,
Yeah.
that's when your liver can't produce but it can't process the ammonia anymore. So the ammonia is like a
Oh,
byproduct
right.
of metabolism.
Right. And this is where jaundice comes in and all that stuff, right?
Now the jaundice comes in from a different reason. The
Okay.
jaundice is like increased bilirubin inside of the body.
Oh yeah, bilirubin.
Yeah, and so the ammonia is just excess um, byproducts of metabolism that aren't able to be processed by the liver.
So it's like trash.
Yeah, it's all junk, right? And
Wow.
it needs to be cleared out because
Yeah.
that's what the liver does, right? But when you have liver failure, it can't do that, and that's one of the biggest side effects of liver failure is you start to have hepatic encephalopathy.
When it filters it and it catches the bad shit, what does it do with it?
It turns it into a byproduct that you can actually excrete.
Okay. How does it excrete that?
It's been a while. I don't remember that one.
Okay. Okay. So hepatic.
I mean, but I know that it turns ammonia into something else that's like soluble that it can actually poop out. So when we have someone who's got liver failure and they're producing excess amounts of ammonia,
Oh, is this
we,
why it turns white? Or no, that's Hep C. Hep C turns your shit white, right?
I don't know, turns your shit white.
Yeah, like severe cases of Hep C, their shit will turn white.
Okay, that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But so going back to the ammonia, right? The
Yeah.
ammonia level and having that process stuff out, you put them on lactulose, which just basically makes them poop more, and it draws the ammonia into the gut, so it allows for the bacteria inside the gut to process it, and they poop it all out. That's the only way that they can get out ammonia at that level,
That is crazy.
right? But the ammonia causes confusion, personality changes, tremors,
Yeah.
slurred speech, coma, and it's reversible if it's caught early, right? But if it's not caught early, then that's what leads to more issues.
Like just more downstream.
Yeah, I've seen patients inside the hospital that have a hepatic encephalopathy, and they're in this weird state where like they really don't know where they are, and they're just like moaning and wailing, and nothing, none of that looks good. They've got severe liver failure at that point. They're on the liver transplant list, and just nothing's functional.
And it is painful, right?
I don't know if it's painful. I just know that it's painful to watch for sure. I don't know if they're actually in pain, or if they're just confused and they really don't know where they're at.
Huh.
And so hepatic encephalopathy, right, sometimes gets confused with wet brain. So wet brain.
Okay,
from
that
what
was
I-
my next
yeah,
question.
so like that's different. So wet brain is like either Wernicke's encephalopathy or Korsakoff's, right? And so the difference is that they're both vitamin B1 deficiencies. And what happens is that because alcohol it basically flushes, right, or it's a diuretic, it flushes a whole bunch of the water soluble vitamins out of the system. And as it's flushing those vitamins outside of the system, right, you leach your body of all of the essential like B1s and the B12s, right? And so Wernicke's encephalopathy is an acute phase of that particular thing, which is like basically confusion, abnormal eye movements, and a difficulty with gait, like walking around.
So is that why like after like a hard night of drinking, your pee is so bright yellow?
It's bright yellow because you've been peeing out a ton of stuff earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like when you the joke was like when you break the seal for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just pissing and pissing and pissing
Mm-hmm.
because your body is alcohol works on the I think it's the ADH pathway, and then it just causes more you wanting to like excrete more urine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so going back to Wernicke's, right? As it progresses and it gets worse, that's when it goes into the Korsakoff's, and the Korsakoff's is a permanent brain injury, which leads to severe memory problems, right? And I really like Korsakoff's because it has confabulation. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Confabulation is when
Oh, making shit up?
yeah,
Yeah,
so if
yeah,
you and I
yeah.
were having a conversation, I was like, "Hey, remember that one time?" You'd be like, "Dude, I totally
Absolutely.
remember that." Absolutely, 100%, right?
Yeah.
They're like, "What'd you have for lunch?" Man, same thing I always have for lunch, right? It's
Have
the
you
same
seen
thing.
Have you seen Drunk in Public?
What's that, a
David
movie?
Allen. Yeah, it's a very famous. So what happened was a cop was arresting this guy for drunk in public.
Okay.
He'd been arrested 1,000 times. Something crazy.
Okay.
Drunk in public, and it's like you watch over like a 10 plus year period where this cop, anytime that he interacted with him, he would record it. the deterioration of an alcoholic on the streets, and he went from like a semi-normal homeless guy to like dude
Okay.
just was so out there, like insane.
And that's the progression from Wernicke's to Korsakoff's.
Yeah, and so wet brain
Wet
like
brain,
was
yeah.
what 100 years ago it was wet brain. Obviously, a lot of scientific advances and studies
Mm-hmm.
and awareness and all that stuff that I talk about, right? But um, why did they not continue with the term wet brain and they use Korsakoff's?
No idea. Like I think they were just using
Was
wet
it
brain
a
as
name or something? Like somebody's
wet.
name?
I no wet. I think
No,
that
no, no, no. What they call it now?
oh Korsakoff. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
somebody's name. I don't know
Okay.
whose name that is, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's someone whoever the neurologist was that discovered it.
Because when I think of like the visual of wet brain or like something that's waterlogged,
Yeah.
right? It's like so appropriate.
Yeah, I could see how. I mean, that was straight out of the book, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, and I didn't really know what it was until I like investigated. I was like, what is this wet brain thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's a neurological process,
Well, I mean, you hear people say like, "Oh, there's no such thing as wet brain."
right?
Have you heard that?
No,
Okay,
I
I've
mean,
heard.
I know that there is,
Mm-hmm.
but they probably haven't seen an alcoholic that's gone that far down the road, right? I mean, based upon where AA is at today, right? We see a lot of high bottom drunks,
Very.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
the wet brain is like when they're in the ICU and they can't remember anything. I've seen in the course of my practice maybe Korsakoff's disease maybe 3 times.
And what was their age range?
They were in like their 70s, and it
Oh,
was it was someone that brought their dad in, and they're like can't deal with dad anymore, right? And we'd like have a conversation. He'd be very like convivial, like very jovial, like fun to talk to, and then you'd go in and you'd go in the next day, and you're like you'd have the exact same conversation, and I'd be like, do you remember? And he's like, of course I remember you, and I was like, he's like, you're so nice. Thank it's so nice to like have someone as caring and compassionate as you, right? And I was like, you're making all this up. Like you could tell that he's making it up, right? Because he can't really form the new memories, and that's what the whole issue with Korsakoff's is, right? Is that you can't form new memories, and you're unable to do that. And so when patients come into the hospital, right, the reason we give them thiamine is to make sure that it doesn't progress to Korsakoff's because that's like super debilitating
and really just reintroducing the vitamins back into the body.
back into the body. Yeah. And so I always tell patients, they're like, "What can I take? What can?" Because they always want to overdo it,
Yeah.
right? So I tell them like just take a multivitamin. They're like, but what else can I take, right? And I was like, you can take a B vitamin, right? But you're gonna piss it out the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so Americans have like the most expensive urine in the world because all the
Oh
stuff that they're
yeah.
taking in is just getting peed right back out.
It's funny you say that because you're starting like another health journey, right?
Yeah,
And have you noticed that I haven't told you like go get on supplement? Well, you're a doctor anyway, but like
yeah,
one of the things that I did very early on, like a couple of years ago, was
mm-hmm.
like I started getting like all of these supplements
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
da da da, and then like as I read more and more about it, I was like, I have the most expensive pee in the world right now.
Yeah.
This is
There's
fucking
like
pointless.
no reason to be on all that.
No, it's like overdosing on supplements
Yeah,
every day, and you're just peeing it out. But the greatest, simplest, most logical solution to that: eat a healthy diet.
yeah. Eat some veggies.
There's some things that you obviously can't. You have to supplement for,
Like what?
like vitamin D.
Okay,
Everybody should probably supplement vitamin D.
okay.
Um,
Is that because you're not going outside enough?
no, so I mean today, absolutely,
Okay.
right? Like, but it's also like very hard to get even if you're going outside enough. We're clothed, we got hats on, like there. You need like a sufficient amount of vitamin D to like run properly. I mean, to have like what they suggest is the proper amount. It's like you have to supplement it.
So I've been so that's so funny. So as I started this health journey of mine, right? I'm taking like 4 different supplements, right? One's a probiotic for men, because I'm like I'm pretty sure my gut flora is like in terrible shape,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let me like get that back up and running. I'm taking NAD because one of the nurses on staff was like, "You should try this out," and I was like, "All right, I'll give it a whirl," right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it NAD plus?
NAD plus,
Yeah.
methylfolate,
Mm-hmm.
and vitamin D.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 that I'm taking.
So there are things that I still take, um, and a lot of it is branched chain amino acids. But another thing that I that I really like to take is I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's an acid. Let me tell you. And what it does is it helps the signaling for your proteins to like get to where they need to go to help build muscle.
Okay.
Um, and for me at least, whenever I'm not taking it, I can feel the difference in like my when I work out and like how long I'm sore, how long I'm not sore.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, supplements are, and it's a whole industry.
It
You
is.
get like
Yeah.
people getting super rich. It's HMB free acid.
Okay.
Yeah, you should try it out. Once you start like really working out.
Yeah. I'm gonna just do the basics for the first year, and then after I plateaued out from doing the basic exercises for the first year and like trying to eat right,
Oh,
then I'll go to the next level.
yeah. You know, if you
All we're
do,
going for right now is consistency.
that is the key,
Yeah.
right? Consistency will definitely kick that door open. But were you a sports guy? Like, did you
No.
play? Oh, dude, you can, if you're consistent, you can get by on baseline stuff for a really long time and see
Okay.
big differences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my plan. Consistency. That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah. 4 days a week.
That is way more than consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like would consider consistent working out as every other day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm going for like that as I'm driving in, like any day that I can go in before I have to see my first patient.
Yeah. And have you read like around like what a good starting prescription for working out is?
Mm-mm.
15 minutes 3 times a week.
Oh,
It's
really?
like a really good, yeah, for like somebody who hasn't done anything for years or
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. 15 minutes 3 times a week is a good place to
I'm
start.
killing it then.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm. And I've noticed, right? Like you can see it's been a month.
Yeah, I think I'm just making shit up.
No. No, no. No.
It's been like 3 weeks.
No. I mean, I'm looking though, like to see, right?
Okay.
The thing is you might not see it. You see yourself every day,
Yeah.
and this is true for everybody. Like you're not going to notice it before other people do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in a body recomp, you're gonna weigh the fucking same.
Oh, so what? So there was probably around it was like 4 or 5 years ago when I like started working out like heavy, right?
Hmm.
I was going to like there was a gym right next to Lambda, and like I knew I was getting into shape when like there was one day that rolled by and I like came by in like shorts and all the boys were like, "Hey, what's up? Come on, how's it going? How's everything?" And I was just like, "What the hell's going on here?" Right? They're like, "You been working out?" And I was like, "A little bit," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah,
Because it's the gays that hear it first, right? And then the ladies follow.
yeah.
That's what I've been told.
I mean, yeah. I would say that's probably true. I think gays are more into guys than straight women are.
Gays are more into guys than straight women. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Totally, right?
yeah.
100% true.
So what organ does alcohol destroy that people have? They just don't even realize it.
So I mean, it's pretty toxic throughout the body. It's like surprising how toxic it is, and so we can just go in order by systems, right? So you got alcoholic cardiomyopathy, and what that means is that your heart gets really, really big, and it starts to grow in size. And so if you've seen like X-rays of people that have alcoholic cardiomyopathy, it's just a really, really big heart,
Yeah.
and it becomes more and more problematic to like actually pump.
So long term, cardiomyopathy.
Uh huh.
I have heard. I don't know if this is true, but like there has been cases of like the heart doubling in size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen that. And
Okay.
it's just and you can see it on X-ray because it's supposed to only take up like I think like a third of the space between the two walls,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes up like half.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
so
like
like
it's huge.
the average person's heart's the same size as their fist, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so from what I heard, so it was always like, okay, it was always comorbidities involved where
Yeah.
they were also obese.
Yes.
And yeah, their heart had doubled in size, and they were on like some kind of like something happened that triggered them like having to go like almost like a medical emergency. And most of the time, like this is just from what I've seen or heard, like I've kind of been around the block a couple times, right? Where they're like, "Oh, I just need to get my weight in check," right? And then they go in there, and then they're told like, "Dude, are you like drinking or like what is going on here?" And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like have a beer after work or whatever. And it's
No,
like they
you can
find out
tell.
that,
You
yeah, they
can
find
tell.
out that it's like your heart has doubled in size. This isn't just an overweight problem.
Yeah,
This is like
this is a
yeah,
yeah, and it's kind of there's a lot of labs that are telltale on that, and a lot of like things that you can see.
around like enzymes and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
definitely the AST and the ALT. There's a
Mm-hmm.
very particular pattern around it. It's the AST doubles from the ALT, but they'll both be elevated.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stigmata of alcoholism, especially like around the face and like the blanching of the face and like the way that the nose turns out.
Isn't
You're
that
just like
funny?
you're like, and I think it's the collagen from the nose that like starts to get impacted. Um, you can see it on the X-ray, obviously. Um, and then if they get like neuropathy of like a certain like pattern, like that becomes very clear. It's
Which
just
is
like
like in their extremities.
with their extremities,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They get acute on chronic pancreatitis, where like their pancreatitis is just always there.
Mm-hmm.
The alcoholic neuropathy, and then you can see it on lab exams because they get a pancytopenia, which means all of their like their platelets are lower, their white blood cells counts are lower, their red blood cell counts, everything is like on the lower end of
Oh
it.
yeah, because it thins your
They,
blood.
well, no, it's because there's bone marrow suppression that's happening in there, right? So it prevents it from like actually producing more and more.
And is that why the blood? No, it's because the. So there's
So
multiple
that
things
yeah,
going
so that
on.
okay, so when you're talking about when you're thinking blood thinning,
Yeah.
right? You're thinking that the fact that they don't have all of the clotting factors that the liver would normally produce.
Oh yeah.
And so what happens with them is that they get the esophageal varices, and so if they cough too much, right, like they,
Blood.
they won't stop bleeding, or they get the gastric ulcers, right, or they also have their brain starts to shrink and atrophy, and they'll get subdural hematomas, and so like they'll fall, and then all of a sudden they've got a subdural because their brain is shrinking in size, and it's sloshing around inside of
The
the
fluids.
skull, right, and the CSF. And so because it's sloshing around in there, the bridging veins that occur in there have a higher likelihood of like rupturing.
And disconnect. So like okay.
Yeah.
What is the most extreme case of shrinkage that you've heard of by percentage, if you know?
I don't know.
Is it
I
extreme
mean, you
or
can
like?
tell. Like I've seen like MRIs, I've seen CT scans of patients that are alcoholic for sure, and their brain is like atrophied. You can start seeing larger and larger amounts of CSF,
Oh wow.
and so like the gyri that are normally there are like expanded and they've gotten bigger, and so like the brain is not in that like
Protective.
yeah cushion anymore, right? And it's sloshing around more so than anything.
That is way out.
Um,
The more you say this, the more like pickled comes to mind.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Once once it happens like that, it's there, right?
It's
The
crazy.
other crazy one is the Mallory Weiss tears. You know what those are?
No. No.
So it's the tears inside of the esophagus
Oh yeah.
from like retching. So they're like, ugh, ugh,
Mm-hmm.
and then they retch so often that they start getting these tears inside
Yeah.
their esophagus, and like that needs to be corrected too.
Yeah. I mean that is also associated with other disorders though too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh.
And then the hemorrhagic stroke that we talked about.
Yeah. Okay, so without making people feel like just completely doomed about who their parents and grandparents were,
Yeah.
can you explain like what the genetic component of this is?
Yeah, so there's usually like a fourfold risk in terms of like if your parents were alcoholic, then you becoming alcoholic from like the general population. And the genes sometimes affect how people process alcohol. So we talked about this for you, right? Like you don't have alcohol dehydrogenase at all.
Right.
So like you were never going to become an alcoholic
Mm-hmm.
because you literally get allergic to it. But there are some people that metabolize alcohol at a faster rate than other people do.
Mm.
So they've got the epigenetics for that. Like I had friends that were Irish,
I was gonna
right?
ask.
And they were like they would drink like a fish and like nothing, right? And I was like, they're like, wow, it's in the blood. And I was like, what? How's that? They just could drink and drink and drink and drink, and that was not my condition whatsoever, right? Like I was the guy that blacked out and passed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I told you I go from stone cold sober to drunk and passed out like faster than anybody you'll ever see.
that's funny.
Like
Yeah,
crazy.
but you get red, you get beat red too, right? And
And it's
break
so
out.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Like it is really just
yeah.
it's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of beer. So, what is the relationship between trauma and alcohol use disorder?
So trauma, right? There's a 78% of the people that have alcohol use disorder have experienced some type of significant trauma in their past, whether that be childhood trauma or like trauma like recently, or trauma from like just being an alcoholic, right? But there's some sort of trauma that's existed in their past,
Where did
and,
you
and
get that stat from?
there was a paper out that was on that.
Okay, do you think how accurate do you think that is?
I don't think it's very accurate.
Okay.
I would go back to 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it when they're like, because like you don't want to be like everyone's got trauma, right? 'Cause then you get that one person that comes in and you're like, all right, like let's go over your A scores, right? And I was like, any history of childhood, physical, emotional, sexual? Nope. Any emotional neglect? Nope. Any like mental health? Nope. 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 Right? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, you don't want to blow there,
Like
like,
like not a single family's ever been arrested, no drug use, no none of and it's
yeah.
like
You're like my family was perfect, and
yeah.
I was like, huh, that's so crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think neglect, emotional and physical neglect, are like the toughest for people to see,
Oh yeah.
and like the toughest to identify.
Well, because it's normal.
It's been normalized
Yeah.
based upon their childhood, right? So they're like, oh, like it's perfectly normal for me to be like 11 years old and a latchkey kid, right?
Okay.
Coming home by myself every single day.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, so Stuart asked the question. He says, "Why does alcohol make me feel like life is good and that everything is going well and that the girl I'm talking to is going to be totally into me? Also, why do I follow
Do
it?
I know this, Stuart?
I have no clue."
That's so funny.
Said
Okay.
also, why do I find older women way more attractive when I'm drunk? He's all, "I'm Irish, by the way."
I think I do know Stuart. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's a really common name, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of disinhibition that goes on with alcohol, right? It's like suppresses all of your like increases the GABA and suppresses all of your previous conditionings, right? I mean, beer goggles are a thing.
Yeah.
I remember drinking, and I was trying to get to like that perfect amount of buzz where I was like witty, charming, fun, and I could dance, right? And that was about 2.5 drinks in. Guess how long that lasted for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes top, like five, maybe 10 minutes tops, right? Because right after 2 drinks, 2.5 drinks, it went to 3 drinks, right? 3 drinks was just shit show,
Yeah.
and then 5 or 6 drinks was like blackout, and it was just never stayed there for very long. Never stayed there for very long. Yeah, and so going back to the trauma side of it, right? The alcohol dampens hyperarousal and intrusive thoughts of PTSD, and it's often a way of self-medicating. Was Stuart's question about the why am I more attracted to older women? Was that serious?
I don't know. He said he's Irish, so
Uh,
I wonder if he's drunk.
how old is Stuart?
I don't know. Let's see.
Well, there's engagement for you, right? You excited about that?
Yes.
What does that do for you? What does the engagement do for the podcast? Like, how does it help?
Uh, it signals to the algorithm that people like it, and
Okay.
so they will promote it more.
Okay, got it. And that's why we're doing live streams for the next like several weeks.
Well, the reason why we're doing live streams is because as part of the analytics, it tells you like why am I Nick? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that is our. Okay, hold on. Our engineer is also popping. Anyway,
Okay.
what was the question?
What does the live streaming do for your analytics?
Yeah, so part of the analytics, they tell you like what primarily does your audience watch,
Okay.
and they watch live shorts and videos almost equally. And so if I
Live
don't
shorts and videos almost equally. Okay, got it. So
yeah,
if you don't have the live
lives,
stream, then you're like, okay, understood.
not satisfying what they want.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I decided okay, we'll start doing live streams then. I mean, it's like if the rate is like up to 100, like if it's like 100% of them watch videos, 100% of them watch shorts, it was like 86% of them watch lives too.
Okay.
So
but like lives in general, not necessarily our lives.
Well, yeah, because the amount of information that YouTube keeps about the engagement that a single user gives based on what they're watching, what they're clicking, what they're
Right,
liking,
right.
what they're disliking, what they're subscribing to, um, it very accurately understands like what it is that they want.
Interesting. The only thing that I will watch live is poker. Those like those high limit poker things. Just leave it on the background. Just do my thing.
I know I invited you to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
Okay, hold on. I'm going back to this. Okay. Anyway, if someone drinks continually heavy alcohol,
Uh huh.
uh,
Are you looking up there? Or are you looking on your thing?
both,
Okay.
yeah. So, what is the typical timeline to go from like social drinking to like alcoholic drinking?
Okay. Well, I mean, it all depends on the person,
And
right?
also,
So
like, I guess like the real question would be like healthy drink. There's no healthy drinking. Like normal drinking to like life threatening drinking.
I don't think I was ever a normal drinker. I think I drank alcoholically from the moment I drank, and that was because it was binge drinking in college,
Oh,
right? So there was no let's just have a beer, right? There was no such thing as like social drinking. It was like, all right, it's Friday, we're going out to this party, right? And like, let's get fucked up. And so I never learned what it meant to like just have a glass of wine.
to like drink moderately.
And the whole point of like getting their drinking was to get drunk.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not drink to get drunk? Like, who, what? You're having a glass of wine for what? Why? Did you get a buzz off of that? They're like, no, I mean, it tasted good with dinner. And I was like, what? Like, none of that made sense to me at all. Right? I just didn't understand it. Right? So, I mean, the first like 1 to 5 years of like heavy drinking leads to like fatty liver, cognitive impairment, and then social relationships become a problem. Right? Like when you're drinking alcoholically.
Mm-hmm.
Years 5 to 10 is like when you start to get the GI problems, the liver disease, the memory impairments, and then 10 to 20 is the cirrhosis, the pancreatitis, the neuropathy, and the heart disease. Right? Most people develop cirrhosis. Some people that do develop cirrhosis develop it like really quickly, depending upon genetic factors and whatnot. Right? But all of this stuff is different for women because women progress a lot faster than men do.
Why do you think that is?
I want to say it's like body physiology and like their makeup. And it may just be like the social side of it, right? But like when I really think about the drivers of the drinking, I think that there's a lot more trauma underneath
Okay.
that,
Okay.
right? And so like it's more of an escape mechanism for that particular trauma.
Okay. So, like from where I sit and like what I see, do you think do you think that it's also so from what I've seen, a lot of I know a lot of drug addicts, right?
Okay.
I know a lot of alcoholics based on like my treatment episodes, which have been extensive, right? But something that I've noticed is that a lot of stay-at-home moms become alcoholics, and then they might abuse like prescription pills, but much more of them are alcoholic than drug addicts. And then what I've seen was that like the drug addiction in women like starts at a very young age, and then it just progresses into like the at least the women that I hung out with that I saw this with, it would be like very quickly like not working, like sex work, like a
Uh-huh.
lot of stuff like that. I rarely ever met like a sex worker that was just an alcoholic.
Rarely met a sex. I don't know. I don't have any data or experience on that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, but in my mind, the progression is more significant due to the level of trauma.
That
Like
makes sense too.
I would equate it to that more so than anything, and more of a self-medicating thing. And then you don't see very many. Like it's really interesting. Like when you go into the rooms, and you go into treatment, right? The percentage of males that are in treatment versus the percentage of females that are in treatment.
So
It's
top
yeah.
heavy.
So it's like I mean when we're working at the facility that I was working at, the men's side would have 80 patients in it at any given point in time, and the female side would have 20, and that
Yeah.
was pretty standard,
Yeah.
right? Because they're not going to treatment.
Yeah, just like a 4-to-1, which is crazy to me because they have greater access to care.
Women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Okay, so what are some of the warning signs that somebody's progressed into like that dangerous level of drinking?
yeah. I mean, we Scott talked about it earlier, right? Was that it was the jaundice, it was the yellow eyes, the skin, the swollen abdomen, the ascites in the belly, vomiting up blood, black tarry stool due to GI bleeds, tremors that are always there and persistent, like you wake up with them, even if you have a drink or two, like they're still there. Unintentional weight loss are
No.
all like the physical signs of it, right?
Yeah.
But behaviorally, you can kind of tell the difference too. Is like, if they start drinking in the morning, right? You have
Mm.
to get like that eye opener to get going.
Mm-hmm.
You're hiding your drinks. You are having like blackouts or severe memory impairments. You're not remembering exactly what happened the night before or anything like that. You're seizing during your times of quitting, right? You start going into DTS. Um, these are all signs and signals that you should probably go get some help. And you probably need to maybe go to a detox facility or go to treatment because delirium tremens has a mortality rate of like 5 to 15%, which is really, really high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a scary thing. I don't know anybody. It, I'm sure it may have happened that died from like opiate withdrawal.
No.
Never.
It's not, I mean, why would somebody die from opiate withdrawal? Like, unless there was like some other complication or they had like some heart disease or something like that, but like it's not lethal, it's not deadly.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances would be. I guess it would be like a comorbidity.
Yeah, I mean, if they had like if they're withdrawing from opiates and they had an abscess, and that abscess went
Mm.
to their heart, and that's how they died, or something along those lines.
Okay. But versus alcohol, it is way more common than people think, I
Yeah,
think.
dying from alcoholism.
Dying from alcohol withdrawal.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Hmm.
That's why they're in the ICU. That's why they're going to hospitals, right? Yeah,
I mean, there's an interesting thing that I heard around like doctors prescribing a specific amount of alcohol to elderly people, where they say like, look, you can't stop drinking based on your history, but don't drink more than this. Just don't stop.
I mean, when we're working in like when Chuck's calling in and they're having someone come in from the like coming into admissions, right? He can't tell them to. He can't tell them like, hey, stop drinking completely, right? Because the risk of seizure goes up. So what he'll
Hmm.
tell them is like, if you need to have a beer, it's okay. Like have a beer before you come in, right? Just to make sure that you don't seize, you don't have like those complications.
Hmm.
But like, whenever we tell them that, right, they come in like just completely wasted.
Of
So
course.
it's like there's no in between.
Okay, so the next question, what is alcohol withdrawal exactly, and why is it so dangerous? And uh, kind of a question around this is, can
Hold on, I got the ER calling real quick. Let me just say
okay,
yes.
no problem.
Sorry.
You're good.
Okay, so what does alcohol withdrawal look like exactly?
Well, what is it exactly, and
So
why is it
it's
so dangerous? And second question around this would be, I've heard somewhere, and I think I've only heard it once or twice, but that chronic alcoholism can also lead to Parkinson's.
can lead to Parkinson's. Ooh. Okay. No.
Okay.
Okay. They may think it's Parkinson's because of the tremors that they're experiencing, right? But that's not a Parkinsonian tremor.
Hmm.
That the Parkinsonian tremor is due to a low dopamine state, right? This tremor is due to a glutamate overdrive
Yeah.
or a sympathetic tone overdrive.
So there is no like possible crossover as far as like symptoms leading to that dopamine deficiency.
I was a movement disorder specialist, right?
Correct.
There was no evidence of that
Yeah. Okay.
whatsoever. Yeah. And so when we talk about alcohol withdrawal, the reason why it's so dangerous is because the brain adapts to heavy drinking, right?
Hmm.
And it acts as a depressant. And so as soon as you stop the GABAtory inhibitory neurotransmitters, and then you let the alcohol go, right? The glutamate goes through the roof. And because the glutamate goes to the roof, that's where all the excitability comes from. And that's why you're not supposed to suddenly stop drinking,
Hmm.
right? We want you to go a little bit at a time, and it has all the exact opposite effects of intoxication, right? So when you're intoxicated, you're like, stuporous and like, slow. And when you're in withdrawal, it's the exact opposite of what being drunk looks like, right? And it's a high risk of seizures or delirium. And these are where the benzos come in to effect, right? The benzodiazepines work on the same receptors as alcohol. And so both of them can kill you, right? So withdrawal from alcohol and withdrawal from benzos are both deadly.
Yeah. I mean, because it ultimately does the same thing chemically.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the seizures.
So tell me about like what the timeline of alcohol withdrawal looks like.
Okay. So for the first like 0 to 12 hours, you get the anxiety, the tremors, the sweating, the headaches, and the insomnia, right? But as you progress along to the 12-hour mark, 12 to 24 hours, you get the tachycardia, the hypertension, and possibly the hallucinations, right?
Mm.
Not the vivid delirium tremor hallucinations, more of like the kind of see a shape moving over here. Right? There's something fuzzy over there, right? You start seeing these like tracers. 24 to 48 hours is where everything peaks and the highest risk of seizures happening. Grand mal tonic-clonic seizures occur around that time, and then 48 to 72 hours is where delirium tremens can happen.
Okay. Cynthia wants to know if it's a deficiency in GABA. Could you supplement with GABA?
If you were going into withdrawal,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I've had patients take GABA or like
Okay.
straight up GABA.
And does it mitigate the withdrawal?
It does, but I don't know if you can take enough GABA to like have it mitigate. So she's talking about like taking GABA supplements,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, I don't. I think it helps out with the withdrawal, but it depends upon how far down the road they are and how much they've actually been drinking.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I mean, I guess what would really be the determining factor is how wired your brain is to the
yeah,
withdrawal.
and how much you've been drinking and how long you've been drinking that amount for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the medical detox process, and what's actually like going to happen in the hospital?
Okay, so when you come into the hospital, right, we basically do like so. Let's say you came into my hospital, right?
Mm.
We would come in, you would do your blood work, we would get your CBC, a CMP, we'd get a urine drug screen to make sure that you weren't lying to me about exactly what you were doing, you weren't taking some bendos in addition to that. We'd bring you into the hospital. I usually like to give patients phenobarbital when they first come in to try to get ahead of the withdrawal because I
Mm.
know it's like a long acting barbiturate and I can get ahead of all the withdrawal symptoms. And then we start doing the CWA scale. So it's the clinical alcohol withdrawal scale, which basically measures like I think it's like 12 or 13 domains of like how sweaty are you, how shaky are you, how nervous are you, do you have any nausea, do you have any vomiting?
So would that be like the alcoholic version of a cow?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So the CWA is the alcohol version of the COW score. So
Okay.
the COW score is specifically for opiate withdrawal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why you don't know about the CWA score.
Yeah. Never heard
and
of
then
it.
and then we give Ativan, Valium, or like Librium. If you're in liver failure, we give the Valium. If you are just straight up alcoholic, then we give you Ativan. And then if you're on benzodiazepine and alcohol, I usually do it with phenobarbital and do a phenobarbital taper. We also give B1 and thiamine to make sure that you don't get the Wernicke's encephalopathy, right? We measure your heart rate, we measure blood pressure, temperature. Give you IV fluids because everyone's dehydrated. Zofran and Phenergan for nausea and vomiting. And our typical hospital stay looks like probably 3 days or so, 3, 4 days, and then you're done.
Okay, so then specifically concerning like timelines for staying, right? Like,
Right.
so what is the longest you've seen people stay in the hospital for alcohol withdrawal?
If it's a really bad withdrawal, like 5 to 7 days, depending upon like what their comorbid factors are, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if I can't get the how are they no, because usually the withdrawal lasts about 3 to 4 days, right? So they're done with the withdrawal. If they're staying longer than that, it's because they've got something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got ascites in the belly. They've got problems with their like they've got respiratory issue, or an infection or something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I find interesting is the amount of time that people stay in residential.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you mean by that?
a couple things, right? Like, you ready to go on this tangent?
Okay. Sure. Let's go on this tangent.
Okay. Right now, the payer is the person that's ultimately the deciding factor in how long people are staying.
Okay.
Um, whether it's private pay, where you can afford to stay 90 days,
Okay.
or you're utilizing your health insurance, and then it's pretty much maxed out at 28 days for residential.
Okay.
One of the things that I have found for myself, I've done a lot of long-term treatment, way more effective for me. It was way more effective for me to be in the Salvation Army for 7 months
Yeah.
than it ever was to pay to like 60 grand to go to like some high-end treatment center
For 28 days.
for 28 days.
Okay.
And then also the most effective treatment episode for me was 3 years long. And it totally makes sense to me why that is. What doesn't make sense to me is why are we, and we don't have to talk about this, but the question that I ask is why did they settle on 28 days other than the amount of money that they have to pay?
Mm-hmm.
And then my second question to that is always, if they understand that this person is going to have to go to treatment 7 times before they have that 1 year of sobriety, why don't they just pay for 6 months up front instead of 7 months over, the 5 years or whatever? Because then they're not just paying for
Right. But I
inpatient.
told you why that was, right?
Why?
Was that the way that the insurance company
Oh
looks
yeah,
at their
the fiscal
the
year.
fiscal year, it's based upon how much are you spending in that one fiscal year.
It sounds so crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
So they're not looking at like lifetime.
Yeah,
How much do they
outcomes.
spend? They're like, how much did we spend this year, right? Because the thing is, you may go and you may jump to from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Healthcare the next year, right? So that's not on there. That's not on them anymore,
Yeah,
right? That's someone else's like problem.
it's crazy. So, what are some like typical complications that you see around people who are
Hmm.
coming into the hospital for detox?
Yeah. So we talked about the hepatic encephalopathy and the high ammonia levels. We get a lot of GI bleeding, a lot of people with like GI ulcers or like the esophageal tears, infections, pneumonia. They because alcoholics like when they're like retching and they're like vomiting and stuff like that, they'll sometimes aspirate on that,
Mm-hmm.
and so you'll get like lung infections, sepsis, cellulitis, a lot of pancreatitis that comes in, severe malnutrition,
Mm-hmm.
electrolyte abnormalities where their potassium's low or their sodium's low, severe dehydration, acute kidney injury, like heart disease, cardiac issues, cardiac anomalies like arrhythmias that are occurring, hypertension, tachycardia,
Wow.
a lot of traumas like broken, like black
Broken
eyes,
bones and
broken
like,
bones. It runs the gamut. And I'm like, you have a black eye, and they're like, yeah, I've had it for like 4 weeks, and I was like, what? Or
oh,
like
from the throwing up.
the black eye,
Yeah.
from the throwing up.
Oh yeah.
You get black eye from throwing up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What?
So one of the
Wait, how? I can't even think about how that would
I'm
happen
gonna tell you.
physically.
So what happens is like for heroin addicts,
Okay.
that is like one of the things that heroin does like almost immediately is it makes people throw up constantly. Like
Okay.
and
When they're coming off of it,
no no no.
when they're
When
on
you
it.
get high, one of the first things that happens to a lot of people is they throw up.
Okay.
That subsides after extended amounts of exposure to it.
Okay.
But like the first like month of me getting high, like I was throwing up 4 or 5 times a day. And what happens is the amount of pressure from puking like causes capillaries like in your eyes and around your eyes to burst, and it bruises. So
Interesting.
I looked like a fucking raccoon, and it was like,
Interesting.
and I would tell people like, oh yeah, I like ran into like some bullshit, right? Or I got into a
Okay.
fight. But really, what happened was like from the heaving, because it isn't just throwing up; it's dry heaving, and like it's an actual like your body. And what I've been told is, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's a poison. Your body's trying everything that it can to like get rid of stuff, and so like the dry heaving. There was one time that I had relapsed, and I was puking so much that I lost my voice. You know, just like from dry heaving and actually
Okay.
throwing up and stuff. But yeah, black eyes pretty common from throwing up, and just the
Interesting.
amount of pressure that you're putting in your eyes.
Pretty sure the guys that came in weren't well, their black eyes weren't from throwing up. Was it is it bilateral at that point?
Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes. I've had both eyes,
Okay.
but I'm surprised you've never seen that. But you know what?
Or maybe they don't tell me about it, right? They just have the black eye and I just assume that it's,
From
some
a
type of
fight or
trauma.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, this happens like early on in the exposure to the drugs. This
Okay.
stops happening. Like the amount that you
Yeah.
throw up lessens.
By the time you're coming in to see me in the hospital, like you've been on it for a while.
Yeah.
This is not your like first rodeo.
Yeah. Unless you're a kid. Like unless you're a young adult that's getting forced in by their parents.
Even those guys, right? They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I think the black eyes were. It was like always the first month.
Good. Yeah.
And you know what? That no, no, no. I know that I've known a bunch of other people. It was the same thing. So it was like a common thing for actually, especially in high school. Like we would see each other and just kind of like know what it was from.
I can't. I still can't get over the fact that you're like in high school when I was slamming dope.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and also it wasn't. I started high school age, but I had already been kicked out of school.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are the FDA approved medications for alcoholism?
So there's a couple, right? So we've got naltrexone, which you know about.
Mm-hmm.
That one's really interesting, right? Because it's an opioid blocker.
Mm-hmm.
But what they found is that it reduces the cravings and the reward effects from it. So the reason that they put patients on naltrexone is they found that in the event that you relapse, your relapses are less intense and less severe if you're on naltrexone. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why they put patients on the Vivitrol shot, right? This goes back to they're trying to prevent that during that first year.
Yeah. If like in the event that they do relapse, is there any like adverse effects of the drug?
No, it just
Okay.
doesn't feel the same, right? But what happens is that if they have one drink, they'll just be like, "Oh, why am I doing this? I didn't really like this. It didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
the same." But for me, if they're in that mood instability that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
that first drink is not going to take care of it. So they're just going to keep
Keep
doing it
drinking.
until they can actually get the effect of quieting down that hyperactivity.
Okay, so they can drink past it.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no. It's not like a block. It's not like an opioid blockade. I mean, even with the opioid blockade, you can override that opioid blockade.
Yeah, but most people overdose before that point.
They overdose before they override the blockade to get
Mm-hmm.
high.
At least from what I've seen, is a lot of people they will use and use and use trying to overcome that blockade, and by the time they are able to overcome the blockade, the amount of drugs that's in their system they are overdosing because of.
Okay, interesting. And that's the ones that are on the Vivitrol.
No, that are they're on like Sublocade or like things that like actually are partial agonists or like that
Okay,
will cover the receptor.
got it. Okay, yes, that
I
does
don't
make
know
sense.
many. I don't know many. I haven't known it many opiate addicts that got Vivitrol shots for that.
Okay.
A lot of it was like Sublocade
Well,
and Suboxone.
when I was in fellowship, we were giving them out to everybody.
Yeah.
Right, that was like the thing to do if you had opiate use disorder, like you gave them Vivitrol.
When was this?
I did my fellowship about 7 years ago,
Okay.
7 years ago.
Okay, so when I first got introduced to recovery, it was 2012, and at the time, Suboxone was kind of like becoming a thing. Methadone was like kind of falling out of favor,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if naltrexone was even like an option yet.
Okay.
But I'm sure if it was, I would have been exposed to it at that time too. I just
Right.
wasn't.
Interesting. All right, so the next one is compressate, and that one is basically it basically floods the system with GABA, so it like kind of calms them down and keeps their mood stable. They
Okay.
use that for alcohol use disorder. And the last one is disulfiram or antabuse, right? And antabuse is the drug that if you drink while you are taking it, you'll get violently ill, and it's because it inhibits the aldehyde dehydrogenase, which is responsible for breaking down acetaldehyde into something that your body can actually absorb and digest, right? And the crazy part is that about 9% of the people that have alcohol use disorder actually get prescribed any medications for it. So most people that have alcohol use disorder don't get prescribed any meds ever.
What's the thought behind that?
That there's lack of access to it, or people aren't actually getting treatment for
Oh,
it.
so it's not an intentional.
Yeah, no, they're just it's not there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, how many people are actually alcoholics that are out there that are not seeking help? Period for it.
I think I saw one at one point. There was a study out there that said it was like 15% of the population actually seeks out treatment for alcohol use disorder.
15.
That I'm sorry. So, of the 15%
Okay.
that are addicts and are alcoholics, right? Of that 15% actually find treatment,
Wow.
right? So if you think about it as like so 15% of the population, right, is like what 300 million, right? So
Yeah,
50,
45 million people.
45 million people, right? Of that 45 million people, only
15.
so about 7 million people actually get treatment for their alcohol use disorder,
Wow.
right? So that's so few people are actually getting treatment.
You know what? We could do all the math right now. There's 1,400. No, no. What is it? 3,600 facilities across the United States.
Yep. And they take in like how many in a year?
Well, the crazy part is, it's probably really lopsided. Around like, there's probably like a 10% that get 90% of them, and then
10% that get 90% of them? Really?
yeah, oh yeah. Because think about it, it's really the state funded places that have 200-bed facilities that are just turning and burning people.
Got it. Got it. Got
And I mean, it's just the volume of people. So when I was in the Salvation Army, 138 beds. I mean, full 100% of the time,
it. Yeah.
and you know, 30 to 40 would leave a month, maybe more, and they're just one person after they've got 2 or 3 intakes a day sometimes.
Yeah. And they're just constantly coming in and out.
And they're just in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
And then it's also, so there's those types of programs where it's like faith-based work therapy programs. And then you've got like the other state programs where it's like maybe not, well, first of all, any faith-based is not state-funded anyway. But,
Right.
but you've got like the other types of state-funded stuff where it's still, they're working off a quantity to pay the bills, not necessarily quality, which I've had my best treatment episodes in state-funded places.
Yeah. No, I mean there's a lot to be said for those places, right? There's a need for all of it. There's a
Hmm.
need for all levels of care,
Hmm.
right? Depending upon where you're at with stuff. So let's talk about relapse rates, all right?
Okay,
So
so honestly, we'll talk about them.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Well, I mean, I know you've got your own stats, right?
Yeah.
Let me share the stats that I've got, right?
Okay.
So I remember being in treatment, and they told me, look to your left, look to your right. They're like, only one of you is going to be sober after a year, right? And so that's the statistics, right? It's about 1 in 3 stay sober after that first year, or you get to that first year of sobriety. I don't even think it's that high. I think that's exaggerated.
I heard something similar,
Okay.
but we'd be in like the big group where everybody at the treatment center is there,
Okay.
and there'd be like, I think the first time I heard this, there was 32 people there, and this guy Mac was like,
3,200 people
no,
there.
32.
Okay.
There was 32 people in this treatment center. It was a men's like resort style. Like we had our own. Like it was crazy. Anyway, it was like a evening class where one of the people who worked there was like, this guy was awesome. His name was Mac, but he was like, of the 32 people in this room, only one of you will stay clean for a year.
Out of wait, so,
Out of the 32 people in this room, only
Okay.
one of you are going to stay clean for the year. And you know what he said? He was like, only one person in this room is going to be clean a year from now,
Okay.
and it's not going to be any of you. It's going to be
What?
me. That's what he said.
That's funny.
And
Um,
I think I stayed in contact with a bunch of them, and I'm pretty sure every person that I know of, every single one of them relapsed.
wait, were they all drug addicts?
No, there was
The
alcoholics,
alcoholics
drug
and the
addicts.
next
Yeah.
two?
This is the treatment
Was
episode.
it low bottom stuff, or was it like
Both. There was a
okay?
good range. So it was Kaiser funded. Kaiser partnered with this place, and then it
Okay.
was like a high end private pay place as well.
Okay.
But there was like hardcore gang members, like old alcoholics, and then like young. Actually, one of the guys that was there, he was on Dr. Phil at one point for going to treatment 150 times.
150 times.
150 times. He was like 30 years old. Been to treatment 150 times.
How is that even possible? Like detox 150 times?
No, no, no. Like supposedly had been to a residential facility. I don't know about the completion rate, but been
Yeah.
to treatment. Parents paid for it every time. 150 times.
I don't even know how you get to be that high, right? Like you stayed for a week. Even if you stayed for 1 week, right? That would be 3 years of your life.
But he was 30. I think he'd been going to treatment since he was 16.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's, I mean, just, I mean, but okay, let's keep going over your statistics, and then we can talk about what I've read.
Okay, no, that was the main one, right?
Really?
Yeah, and like those rates are very similar to other chronic diseases, right? So we don't call someone who's got hypertension who doesn't stay like within the range, right, as a failure. We like basically are like, let's treat and adjust, right? And
Yeah.
so we're trying to like re-normalize instead of a binary on or off.
Yeah.
It's more of like a hey, what can we do to improve the rates here?
Well,
And that's the work that we're doing, right?
Mhm.
Is like how do we get to be have better treatment rates overall?
So the problem with a lot of the terminology that has been adopted into into the addiction, the field of addiction, um, there's a lot of presupposition involved with the term disease,
Mm-hmm.
right? The problem is all the presupposition of a disease, nobody gets the credit of those presuppositions, right? Where like a disease, there is no choice, whereas like addiction, there is like an element of choice. And unfortunately, when people relapse, the majority of the time, people say that it's a failure on that person's fault side.
Right. So do you believe that you could have not been an addict had something different happened to you before you like started using?
So, like like in depth my story,
Right.
the sexual abuse,
Right.
the oldest of 10 kids, and so like whether or not they did a good job of being parents, they had 13. They had 10 kids or 9 pregnancies in 13 years.
Yeah.
Like, how do you split your time on that? Anyway, um, even if I'm pretty sure that even if I would have had the most idealistic, perfect situation growing up, I still would have ended up doing what I was doing.
So for me, right, I think that the ball was set in motion and that there was an inevitability to hitting a bottom at some point
Yeah,
based upon the trajectory that I was at. And so the beauty of that for me is that I could have hit the bottom early on or I could have hit it like much later. But I was gonna hit bottom at some point.
I'm in the same boat, right? I also think that you can. So I'll use my own terminology. Like I'm almost positive that God had like preordained that I was going to do this with my life.
Right.
So either way, if I was went to law school and like done what my parents had wanted me to do and like been successful, I would have been 35, 36, fucking up my family. Like
Right,
I
right, right.
still would have gone down this road.
I think for me, after the trauma occurred, it's like it's an inevitability. I would have found something
Yeah.
to self-soothe with or something to cope with, and that something that I found was going to be detrimental. And so like I'm grateful that it was alcohol because I got to hit a bottom and then wake up from it. Or I
Yeah.
could have led a life of like quiet desperation, not really knowing what was wrong with me, right? But just like kind of coasting by and then transmitting it on to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation.
Um, I do think that my gun was loaded with all of those traumatic experiences, but I also think that that gun was loaded. That just put another bullet in the chamber.
Right.
Like there was going to be something that happened. Stuart, your answer is let's ask Stuart's question again. His phone died and he's back, and his he didn't get to hear it. So the question was, why does alcohol make me feel like life is good and that
Okay.
everything is going well and that the girl I'm talking to is going to be totally into me? And why do I find older women way more attractive when I'm drunk? He's Irish, by the way.
Okay. So what we talked about earlier, right,
He's 35.
was the disinhibition that occurs with alcohol. And so you're
Hang
no
on, hang on. He's 35 now and he started getting the shakes at 15.
from drinking.
Yeah, from drinking. Are you still currently drinking, Stuart?
I mean, if he got the withdrawal, so sometimes patients will they'll have a baseline tremor,
Yeah.
and it's an essential tremor, and that baseline tremor gets exacerbated when they start withdrawing from alcohol. So their baseline tremor is always there, and it's like usually a fine tremor, but they start withdrawing from alcohol, and all of a sudden it's a pretty big flap.
Yeah.
Um, why do I find girls more attractive? Or
Older
yeah,
women. You know what's funny? He said I think the phrasing of the question was why do I also find women why do I find older women way more attractive when I'm drunk? I don't know, but I know as I got older, I found older women more attractive.
okay,
But I also know that like I had this is so weird, but also this is part of the sexual trauma, right? When I was like 8 years old, I would like fantasize about my elderly first grade teacher,
how elderly are we talking here?
like gray hair, elderly.
Yeah,
But it's because like
but
she
that
would have like her shirt was like all her button was like always yeah
that was my second grade teacher as well.
yeah
Yeah, and I was like, that's the first time I ever saw boob,
yeah.
right? And I was like, what is that?
Okay, he said he just lived in the middle of nowhere with no other social outlets, and so he just drank, and it got uh, but it got in the way until he was able to kill it off. Thankfully, are you still drinking, Stuart? Doesn't sound like it. But you were talking about inhibitions.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're suppressing, you're giving GABA into the system, right? And so you're inhibiting all of these things that would normally be excitatory,
Yeah.
right? So your inhibitions go out the window. There's always that like magic window, right? Where like I'm in that perfect zone of disinhibition and inhibition, right? Where I get a whole bunch of energy. So it's like that reciprocal effect that occurs where you that first two drinks, you get actually excitatory, right? Because all the disinhibitions are there. But when you get to like 4 or 5 drinks, right, that's when the depression starts happening.
I wish there wasn't three people listening so I could tell you a story. I should tell it to you anyway. Summer of '06, I was 17, and like my core friend group, there was like probably 10 of us. Anyway, we called it, I don't know why we called it this, but SEAL Team 6, the
Okay.
SEAL Team 6 summer. And the whole goal was we were going to get just obliterated all summer and see who can like get with the most overweight chick that summer. That was like the goal. I didn't participate. I just kind of like refed. But
Okay.
talk about inhibitions going out the window.
Yeah.
There was some some of the situations that we saw that summer. I was like, oh my gosh, it
That's
was
so sad.
it was crazy.
That's so sad. I mean, I guess the 90s were a different time though, right?
This was the early 2000s.
Early 2000s. All right.
It was definitely a different time though.
Hmm.
I mean, we had flip phones.
That's a different time. No
Yeah.
cameras, right? So no one was recording anything.
Yeah.
No proof of what happened.
Yeah. I think like MySpace was like starting to be a thing.
I'm
You had like
so I'm so grateful that we did not have cell phones when I was out drinking. It would have just been a shit show.
did you guys do the disposables?
We did, and I probably have like 4 or 5 disposables that I still haven't finished them off. So
Wow.
they're just like sitting in there, and I'm like, I have no idea what's on it because I've never like gotten them developed. Should probably take them in at some point. Just see
Dude,
like
it'd
what's
be
on these.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay. What predicts relapse versus long-term recovery?
Okay. So the biggest predictors of relapse, right, are untreated mental health conditions or medical conditions that are stopping you from like actually finding sobriety, like depression, anxiety, or whatever that is. Lack of social support. Um, basically, you don't have anyone else in your life. You're going home alone and isolated. Returning to the same environment that you were previously in, right?
The scene of the crime.
Can't keep going back to that place, right? And then not addressing the underlying issues, right? That like led to drinking in the first place. A lot of times, patients stop treatment too early, and they get to just go back and relapse.
Yeah, okay. One of the things that I have like a major gripe about is like some of them aren't offered the amount of time in treatment or exposure to treatment that they
Uh-huh.
actually need. So some of it, I feel like in those specific situations, they're kind of like, the way that I phrase it is like they're set up to fail anyway.
I think it's really hard to dictate that because of the way that the system is set up
For
that you
sure.
want to prevent like fraud, waste, and abuse. And if you gave them carte blanche to like, oh, go ahead and stay for like 90 days, right? Like, wouldn't that increase the amount of fraud and abuse that was going on?
I don't think so. I don't think so because it doesn't matter if you've been alcoholically drinking for 1 year or 20 years. Nobody's gonna fix that in 90 days.
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody.
but it's, do you need inpatient care for that, or can you address that in an outpatient setting?
Um, I I I think that I mean, just based on my experience, I needed 18 months in treatment before the door was ever kicked open for any of the small changes to happen that I needed in order for like the domino effect of the big changes.
And I would say for you, right? Like you had gone and you'd built up so many or neuroplastic threads over and over and over again of those particular behavioral patterns that it took you a while to actually build new patterns or new pathways because those old ones were so ingrained and so prevalent that you needed extra time to
Okay.
build up these new pathways.
What do you think the average amount of time someone spends in their addiction is?
The average amount of time that someone spends, I think that's different for everyone based
I
upon.
know, but what do
Yeah.
you think the average is? 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 1 year? Definitely not 1 year.
Definitely not 1 year.
Definitely not 2 years. I
Oh
would
wait, so let's let alcohol or
no, no, no.
or
Just say addiction broadly, and if we can't really get an idea of that, we could break it down by
oh,
alcoholism or drug addiction. What do
let's
you?
just say like in there, because are we counting like my precursor to before it got bad,
Okay,
like
let's
when life was still manageable.
no, no, no. Let's define it like this. When you are drinking, how long do you drink alcoholically? How much time do you spend drinking alcoholically before you are exposed to your first treatment episode?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
alcoholically,
alcoholically.
right? And by alcoholically, right, I'm gonna say that's like every day.
Not just every day, but then also like every day with a dependency.
Yeah, every day to black out or to like some form of, yeah, dependency,
Yeah.
where you are physically, like the moment that you become every day and physically addicted to it. I would say average 5 years.
Okay. Average 5 years.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there.
Okay. Do you think that 28 days, there's even like a possibility? I mean, I'll put it to you like this: how many one chip wonders do you know?
Not very many, right? But let's extend that out, right? We can do 28 days. We can do PHP and IOP and sober living,
Okay.
which that extends that out to like 6 months.
Up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I would be a proponent of that.
yeah, but me too.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, like I personally think the magic can really start to happen in IOPs. That's where, because of the structure that's kind of like set in place right now, 28 days is a stabilization period.
Right.
PHP is like really where you're like being reintroduced back into the wild.
Yep.
And then IOP, you like have that chance to clinically work through the reactivation of trauma
Yeah.
and still be
That's happening in real time
the
for
real
you.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whether it's you can't find a job, whether it's you found a job and
Yes.
you're struggling financially, whether it's you are being
So-
exposed to situations.
So the 28 days is strictly for physical stabilization and to get you out of the insanity, right? That's not actually where the recovery is occurring.
I do think that yeah, I think that we are trying to burden a stabilization period with the introduction to recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's fair to the client, and I also
Wait, say
don't
that one more time. We are burdening.
a stabilization period with an unrealistic burden of trying to introduce them to recovery.
I want to say they know that they're not really getting recovery at that point.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people think that they're going to go to treatment
Who's a lot of people?
a lot.
Like the payers or the person itself?
I think the clients.
Oh yeah, the
are-
client. Dude, when I went into treatment, I was like, dude, I'm gonna knock this out in like 28 days,
Yeah.
right? Like, I thought it was gonna be 2 weeks because I was so smart, right? Like there was, and then 100 days later, I was like, what? How am I still here?
And you know what? I also think I think that the okay, Mr. Butterworth. Hey, guy. Hey, so I don't know where this guy is from. I don't know if I know him or what. It's like his name is Mr. Butterworth on here. This guy shows up to all of the lives so far. He
Okay.
comments on all the videos. It's pretty awesome.
Okay.
But so I think that there's an unrealistic expectation for the client, but then I have no clue what the payers are thinking, but they can't be thinking about outcomes.
And so for me, I knew that the first 28 days, like in the way that it was structured, the way that was taught to me in during my fellowship, was that the whole goal of the first 28 days is to convince you that you need to go and do more treatment
Yeah.
in like the later parts of it, right? To convince you that this is not a one and done deal, it's a lifetime process,
Okay, I did get that reinforcement quite a bit, right? Like
right?
that, like this is a lifetime process.
Right.
One of the things, oh, he's from San Francisco. But one of the things that was not pushed like across the board, all the
Okay.
treatment centers that I went to, was aftercare. It was a suggestion more than anything.
Right.
Whereas like that, I've heard of other treatment centers locally in this market that it's like the whole goal is to get them to commit by like week 2 to going to a treatment to a step down, so that they can find the step down that they
Mm-hmm.
will have the most success in.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? But that's not normal, right? I think a lot of people think that that is normal. I don't think it's normal. Well, I mean, what about your exposure to like treatment centers that you've worked with? Do you find that a high percentage of them are going to step down levels of care
From the
from residential?
like in terms of doing PHP and IOP,
Mm-hmm.
I think a good majority of them do end up staying and doing the full course of treatment.
So out of 100, how many would you say?
The full like
Even just committing to go to IOP,
40%.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah.
No, that okay, to me that is nowhere near enough.
Okay.
And also what I think that means is that it is not pushed in an effective way. Because if
Yeah,
you
because they'll leave or they'll be like, I can't stay the whole duration, or like there isn't an IOP that's available to them, so they'll stay for the residential side of it, and they'll leave after IOP, or after their time there is done.
yeah,
Right. But the places that I was working at, where they were out in the middle of nowhere,
yeah.
right? So there weren't actually available IOPs for them, or there was an IOP in the thing, but they were like, "Oh, I'm too busy. I'm going to work, or I've got to go back to work."
Yeah, but I mean, your average we live in the third biggest city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest cities in the world. And it's a very undersaturated market compared to a lot of other places. And you're still like if you put somebody in the middle of downtown,
Uh
they're
huh.
no more than 10 minutes away from 5 different IOPs.
Right.
And then like as you like go into the first ring, there's still no matter where you go, you're probably still within 10 minutes of an IOP. And then as you move to
Yeah,
the
but
outer
but
ring,
a lot of them aren't going to the IOP because the place that they went to isn't referring them out to another IOP.
that's my point. Is like there if only 40 out of 100 are committing,
To the IOP that they signed up for
yeah,
in the facility that they came to treatment in.
yeah,
Right. So what I'm saying is that like the facility is not referring them out to a different
hmm
IOP. They're trying to refer them into
to
their
their
own
own.
network. Yeah.
Right, right. But like, it's unrealistic to think that that's possible with probably even 20%, right? Because of proximity,
Right. That's the issue.
right? But what I'm saying is, okay, you can't get them into yours. Why are we just giving up after that?
That goes back to
Especially because
the
everybody,
financial side of it.
yeah, right? I mean, I don't know. I think the drivers and the motivations around, what's another scary thing is like, and I hope this isn't the case, which I've heard kind of undertones around this where it's like, well, if they don't go to IOP, then they might come back. Right? That's a scary thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that like we'll never actually know what they're thinking. But I know what we're
Right.
thinking, right? And it's like Ian's amazing. Like, he will help you find. It doesn't matter where you're going or what you're doing or what your plans are. Like he's
He'll
gonna,
find you one.
yeah,
That's great.
within like a very very reasonable distance. The other thing is like if you live in Tyler, Texas, and you're going to Houston to treatment, and there's like I don't know. I'm using Tyler as an example. I don't know what the
Mm-hmm.
treatment scene is like out there, But let's say there's nothing out there. There's there's no step down levels. What about like the importance of going to a fellowship, right? Like the
Yeah.
importance of finding your tribe. The problem with that is you go to a treatment center, you get comfortable there, and you're not being forced to go, so you don't because it isn't comfortable.
Well, I mean, that's the for me. It's the sober living side of it, right? Doing a sober living close by to where you live,
Yeah.
so you can build your support system and your support group around that.
And ultimately what we are talking about is protective factors, right?
Yeah, and so the protective factors, right, are having a strong network and a strong support group, ongoing therapy or counseling, right, so that you stay connected, treating your co-occurring disorders, and making lifestyle changes, right. And then a small percentage of that is the medication assisted treatment,
Mm-hmm.
like are you on the right medications? And the best way to do it is just to have multiple forms of support, right? Multiple ways in which we're keeping you tethered to the program or
Yeah.
tethered to recovery.
I mean, yeah, you can, I guess, draw like parallels to like safety equipment, right? Like if one piece of safety equipment is good and two is better, then
Uh-huh.
10 is probably the best,
Right.
right? But like, what if,
Well, is it really the best?
I don't know. I know
I
for
mean,
me,
at some point, aren't you encumbering your ability to be mobile with the amount of safety equipment that you have around you? And it becomes detrimental and not
okay,
advantageous?
let's talk about a carpenter, right?
Okay.
Or like an iron worker. They've
Okay.
got a bunch of PPE, right? They've got
Okay.
goggles, they've got gloves, they've got
Right.
boots,
Right. Right.
they got belts, they've got lashes, and like they've got a lot of things that protect every part of their body,
Right.
right? The one of the things that I think is not talked about enough is the entire person, right? A lot of what's talked about is the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Mental's like really kind of starting to become a more talked about part of the human body, but I heard it every time I went to treatment. Well, now you're sober, you should work out and eat better. That was it. That was it,
Uh-huh.
right? And what for me ended up actually working the best was fixing my physical,
Yeah.
and then all the rest of it just snapped into place for me. But guess what? Nobody was like, it is massively important for Matthew Handy to go work out and eat better.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody said that to me. I never really put it together until I met Taylor, and Taylor was like, dude, fucking what are you doing? Like, go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to the gym and it changed things almost immediately.
That's awesome. That goes back to having a multimodal approach, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be more than one thing that you're doing, right? That's helping out. I mean, behavioral therapy, lifestyle support, medications when appropriate. There's no single approach that works for everyone, right? So, like, you have to find out what works for you, and that's going out and trying a bunch of things. But there's also the tried and true stuff that works, right? So,
No.
like,
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I'm finding out around the podcast is that this is becoming less and less agreed upon, right? Where people are starting to notice deficiencies in what they say is tried and true.
right,
Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try. It's the complete opposite. My thing is try until it fails and then find something else,
mm-hmm.
right? But you can't just you can't just say like, "Oh, I'm going to enter recovery. I'm going to completely reject what they say and I'm going
Right,
to try my own thing first." Right? Try the tried and true first. If it doesn't work, find something else. But you've got to try. You got to try like the well-worn path first.
right.
I'm thoroughly convinced of that.
I gotta go soon
Okay.
because I got patients at the ER.
How many do you want to? When do you want to stop?
Let's stop at 6:30.
Okay. So, what should someone do if a relapse happens?
Um, to treat it as data, right? Not as a moral failing or
Hmm.
that you like screwed up or you're not good. I mean, the shame spirals for real, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I think when people experience that, they get into like this state of like, I don't want to come back. I don't want to do this again. Like I have to go pick up a desire chip. And I think for me, it's getting them into the solution faster than they stay out there in the problem, right? And for me, it's that's the whole point of the monitoring program, right? The reason we're putting the app together and building that thing out
Hmm.
is because if someone doesn't log into the app for like a week, you know something is up.
Yeah.
And if something is up, then we can go and offer more support around that time or like intervene before it becomes a full blown spree,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially around the alcoholic side of it. I would much rather catch them on day 4 of the relapse than on day like
10 or
even
12 or 5. Right? Day
yeah.
4 is better than day 5.
Yeah, and every day that you're in recovery is better than a day that you're out of recovery,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't want to catch you 4 months down the road, right? I
Mm-hmm.
would much rather take you like in the first like 4 days because then I can actually do something in an outpatient setting,
Correct. Yeah.
right? I might be able to intervene with an outpatient setting intervention versus like having to go back full on to treatment again.
Yeah. The intervention part that we are talking about around the early catching somebody early in the relapse
Yeah.
could really be the difference between like so one of the things that I've come to realize for myself is that like a relapse doesn't mean a restart 100%.
Right.
Um,
It's all progress,
mhm,
right? Like that's what I tell my patients that, right? They're like, "Oh, I got to start over," right? There is no starting over,
mhm,
right? All of it is progress. It's
mhm.
progress, not perfection.
Yeah. So, what do you advise to some? So this happens a lot, right? Like this isn't the 1930s. This isn't the 1940s where like people were getting exposed to the solution and then just literally staying sober.
Right, the whole time.
Yeah. So, what is
I
the advice that you give to people who have had that chronic relapse label put on them, and they feel just totally hopeless?
and I think for me it's the work that we're doing, right? It's like putting a new perspective on it that there's some biological component that's going on underneath everything that's driving the relapses. So it's not completely you you're not doing it right. And that's the biggest thing, right? It's like you could be doing it perfectly, right? But there's still this biological thing that's going on underneath it that's driving you to go and relapse.
Yeah.
And if we can control that biologically, then you'll have a much better shot at it, right? And so it's part of the disease process and not a personal failure, right? And
Okay.
that each attempt that you're doing is teaching you something, and staying in recovery is better than going out there and doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what happens in the first 90 days of sobriety to the alcoholic brain?
So you go through the pause stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like the post-acute withdrawal symptoms, but I don't really like that like constellation of symptoms because it's not really a real diagnosis. What it's basically saying is that here are the things that are occurring in that particular state, including like mood swings, brain fog, insomnia, anhedonia. But your brain is like literally rewiring itself and trying to get your dopamine receptors back up. Your prefrontal cortex is improving, and the inflammation that's going on inside the brain is improving too. It takes about 12 months for your brain to to come back fully, right, and to go through all the stages of like recovery. And it takes time and to be gentle with yourself.
So, why is insomnia such a massive part of early recovery? And this doesn't, I guess, just apply to alcohol. This happens to a lot of people, but
So I know specifically for alcoholics, what happens with them is that they get into this state where the alcohol is basically tearing up your sleep architecture.
you had personal experience with this, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I could not sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was like my biggest driver for all of that. It wasn't until probably around the fifth or sixth month of recovery, after like when I was living in the sober house, that I actually fell asleep for the first time on my own without any melatonin, any trazodone, any of that stuff. And it took a while for my sleep architecture to come back
Mm-hmm.
because alcohol destroys your REM sleep and it causes like sleep to be fragmented. And in the acute phase of alcohol withdrawal, there's a lot of like hyperarousability during that time, and we're basically conditioning our brain that we need the alcohol to sleep, and that's what exactly what happened to me. Right, I couldn't fall asleep without it, um, but that then leads to its own problems. Right, and the
Mm-hmm.
circadian rhythm was completely out of whack, and it needed time to like come back. Normally, it takes about 6 months for all of that sleep architecture to return.
You know what's crazy?
And I've had patients do that too, right? Like they will tell me like this is the first night I've actually slept without having anything.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that we have so the circadian rhythm and like the natural melatonin that your body produces, it's all signaled based on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And one of the easiest ways to destroy that without drugs or alcohol that that science is finding is with blue light.
Uh huh.
And everybody's on their phone till they fall asleep.
I know, me too.
It's
Oh,
crazy.
one of my friends is doing a. They are in another program for media,
Mm.
and so right now they are surrendering all of their media, all their movies, all their Netflix, and all that stuff. They are 64 days into it right now. And I was like, "Hey, you want to go watch a movie?" And they're like, "No, can't do it." I'm like in a media freeze, and I was like, "I don't even know what that would look like. I don't even know if I'd be
I'm
able to do
thinking
that."
about it right now. It's like, what does that actually mean? Like, like computer
It means anything that you are
consuming
solo streaming is what they call it,
solo streaming?
right? So anything that you're doing alone, where you're like downloading information or downloading stuff that's like not in community.
What about books?
I think that's okay.
Okay. What if you're doing it with someone else?
Like watching a movie, they stopped it for a while because they were my movie partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
My movie buddy. And yeah, I don't want to watch movies with now.
What is the longest you've gone on a camping trip?
4 days.
4 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a long weekend. But this is back when I was a Boy Scout.
Yeah. So I did it 3 weeks. And this is pre cell phones. Anyway, I don't think there was cell phones back then.
Okay.
Like, okay, maybe. Yeah, I think my parents had cell phones. Anyway,
Okay.
3 weeks. It was amazing, right? Like we were out in the Sierra Mountains.
Yeah, you probably got complete reset of all of your
Yeah,
dopamine, right?
dude. I remember like coming down. We were at like I think we started at like 5,000 feet and went up to like 11,000 feet.
Uh huh.
And when I came down the mountain, like the air was like so thick and full, and we like we drove home and went straight to I was 13 years old. We went straight to somebody's wedding reception, and I just remember feeling like better than I'd ever felt in my entire
Yeah,
life.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
My plan is at some point in my life is to go and do a like 2 or 3 month meditation in India somewhere,
yeah, up
and
in the
just
mountains.
not have anything but that for 3 months,
Yeah,
and then
that
see
sounds
what
amazing.
like do one of those like Ram Dass deals.
So red lights and blue blockers. Does red lights like not interfere with the circadian rhythm?
I don't know.
So that's what Mr. Butterworth said. Red lights plus blue blockers, right? They've got those. Actually, a lot of phones now like have that button where it'll take the blue light out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I put my phone on black and white for a while, and I didn't know if that was helpful or not, or if it's like the screen itself.
Cynthia says that there's also usually a yeast overgrowth with alcohol, which creates more activity in the liver that produces cortisol at the wrong times.
I can see that,
Yeah.
and so that's where the sleep wake cycle is coming into play.
Or the disruption
Hmm.
because the cortisol.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Mhm.
disruption in the sleep.
Um, what do you recommend for managing insomnia early in recovery without creating other dependencies? And
Yeah.
a lot of people think that they can like supplement melatonin and thinks that like that's okay. One thing that I know for sure is that your body will stop producing it naturally.
I think early on it's fine to do because the melatonin is the signal to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not actually having you fall asleep. It's
Correct.
the signal to be like, hey, time to downregulate, time
Mm-hmm.
to unwind. So I usually have them take it like 2 hours before their actual bedtime is,
Mm-hmm.
and taking it consistently gives them that signal to like, hey, wrap up, hey, wrap up, wrap up. But sleep hygiene is super important, right? And then having a way in which you're not doing the screen time. You're like actually having a routine together where you fall asleep, washing your face, taking a shower, doing things that actually downregulate you instead of like doing things that stimulate you right before going to bed.
I wonder if we challenged everybody that's listening right now to see how easy it is to just not interact with your phone for 2 hours before you fall asleep. I wonder, like,
The only way that I would be able to do that is well, wait. So
you
so no
can't
so
though.
no phone, no TV, no nothing,
No, no, I guess just phone. We could start with just phone, right? Like,
no TV,
try
no
how.
nothing.
I think I don't know. It does the same thing,
I
but
think the TV does the same thing.
No, it does. It does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
My question is, how hard is it to just leave your phone alone for 2 hours and not touch it until you wake up the next
I
morning?
told you what I did with work now is
Yeah,
that I told work I'm unavailable between the hours of 10 and 6. I've
yeah,
slept better in the last month than I have in the last 3 years
it's
because
crazy.
I was always on call. Always like, I would wake up hyper vigilant, being like, did anyone call in the middle of the night?
Fuck.
Every single day. It was awful.
So magnesium and L-threonate? No,
L-theanine?
threonate. Threonate. L-threonate.
Is that Cynthia?
Huh?
Is that Cynthia?
No, that's Mr. Buttersworth. But
Okay.
Cynthia said that a stool test and balancing of the microbiome will synthesize the appropriate neurotransmitters for sleep.
Interesting. That's good to know.
Hmm. This is the hippie.
I won't be the judge of that.
Okay.
She's listening right now.
She knows I call her the hippie.
You call her the hippie to her face?
Yeah.
Hmm.
She came in for her interview. Like I wish I could. I should hook up the phone so that people can call in.
Okay.
All right, that'll be the next thing that we can add. I could have her call in, and yeah.
And how would you hook up the phone? You just hook up the phone to like the.
This
Okay.
right here. Look, if you look, there's a. So I. This is the phone control,
Okay.
and I'd hook it up back there. And now when they call, it would all get fed through here, and it would feed into.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're incremental changes, right?
Oh,
Incrementally
check
getting
this
better.
out. Magnesium
Oh, I
L-threonate.
like magnesium.
So it's magnesium L-threonate
Okay.
prompts melatonin release.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of like supplementing it and then causing your body to stop producing it naturally, you can cause it to produce more.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I did not know that.
So what is the connection between insomnia and the risk of relapse?
It's insomnia leads to a 2 to 3 times higher likelihood of relapse because sleep deprivation diminishes executive function and increases decreases impulse control. But I also think that it's because patients are manic around that time,
Mm,
right? So I don't know how much of it is poor sleep or how much of it is a mood disturbance that's going on around that time.
well, can they feed into each other?
Yeah,
I think they feed into
yeah,
each other, right?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. How prevalent is it that people in early recovery have using or drinking dreams?
Yeah, all the time, right?
Okay.
You've heard it a thousand
Yeah.
times. What I
Yeah.
like to do with my patients is I like to reframe those vivid dreams.
Okay. The way that you do this is really cool.
Yeah. So when I'll have a patient come in and they'll be like, Dr. Shaw, I had a using dream, I had a drinking dream, right? And I'll be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And they're like, what? No, you didn't hear me. I had a using dream. And I was like, no, yeah, that's so cool, right? Good job. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you must have been doing something good the day before for you to have a using dream, right? It basically is your brain subconsciously processing something that you would have normally drank over, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Good job. What happened? And they're like, oh yeah, I had this like really stressful day and I would have normally drank, but I didn't. And I was like, good job. So my drinking dreams are good. And I was like, yeah. Like I haven't had a drinking dream in a while, but like when I have them sporadically, it's because there's something that I would usually drink or use over that
Yeah.
I am not doing, and so my brain's processing all that stuff.
So, just an example of Cynthia, right? She says EMFs also interrupt sleep, so turn off all your wireless routers before you go to sleep.
Does Cynthia do that?
I'm sure she does. So she's got a story that I'm sure she'll tell you.
Okay.
It's in the podcast, but there was a car charger outside of her home,
Uh huh.
and it was causing like physical
A
pain.
car charger.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just super sensitive to everything.
Yeah, it's a dude. Wait till you hear her episode. Talk about like super sensitivity to molds and like
Okay.
electrical signaling. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Mr. Butterworth says that he stands corrected. Rather than prompting melatonin secretion, it mainly enhances the environment that allows your circadian rhythm
So you get back to normal.
and your pineal gland to do their usual work more smoothly.
Okay.
So it just kind of like levels out the full system.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm learning something every day.
Okay,
Well,
so
let's wrap it up, right? With any special segments or special populations, especially like the women.
Okay.
right? And they develop the faster with less consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And that process is called telescoping, which is basically they have more of the physical consequences that occur at higher rates, probably due to co-occurring trauma and eating disorders. And then
Mm.
there's more stigma for them around seeking treatment. And so it's a lot tougher for them to get into treatment.
What?
There's more stigma for women coming into treatment.
What?
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
They're like, women shouldn't be drinking this much. What's wrong with you?
What? No, no, no. Okay, let me clarify what I mean.
Okay.
Um, from my experience, men have much more inherited shame and guilt around their using than women do.
Yes. Okay.
And from also my experience, which is not everybody's, but my experience is that women are praised much more often for seeking treatment than men.
I would agree with you on that, right? But I think that there is like, you shouldn't drink that much. You're a woman, right? Or you shouldn't, like, what are you doing? Like, I think there's a stigma around being like proper.
Okay. I would have believed that in like even up into the 60s maybe.
Okay.
But women primarily don't subscribe or prescribe to traditional gender roles anymore.
Okay. Hmm. I don't know if that's. I will bring you some papers on that next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I, I, I just think that the day and age that we live in, they
I
are.
agree, but that's not everywhere, right? We are in the third largest city in the U.S.
Yeah, but we're also in a conservative state, and I'm talking about like liberal states are
Right.
all like everybody's the fucking same, right? And I do think that the opportunity to raise their station in life is like not not like precluding them to like more chances of stigma.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're like just looked at more equally as far as addiction. I don't know, but this is all like my experience. I haven't read
Right. Right.
anything on
Right. Right.
this.
No, I'll bring something in.
Okay,
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. Like I know I learned about that in my fellowship
where was it?
at the park.
Yeah,
My fellowship.
yeah, the park.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see where they pulled that data from because I'm sure it was somewhere like Harvard,
Or old. Yeah.
like very liberal school.
I got to bounce, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Buttersworth. Thank you for everybody that's in here.
Thanks, Cynthia. Shout out
And
to Cynthia.
yeah, shout out to Cynthia.
I got patience.
Look at mold will make you more sensitive to EMF, but people who are sensitive to it, they just don't correlate it normally.
Okay.
All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Thank you for coming, and we will see you next week.